Hello, everyone. Welcome to 2024 Collegiate Chess League. We are happy to have you. It is presented by Susquehanna. My name is Jules, and this is my co-commentator. How are you doing, Ben?
Yeah, Jules, doing great today. It's great to be back for another week of collegiate chess. And Jules, we have some very exciting matches today.
We do. And this is our third week, so we're seasoned pros now, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure, Jules.
Yeah, and so we're going to talk a little bit about the match format here. It's 4 versus 4 team chess. All boards will play each other, so you'll get to see everyone. Time control 5+2, 8.5 points wins the match. It's 1 point per win, half point per draw, and tie breaks if the score is tied, but we haven't had that happen yet, Ben, have we?
No, we haven't yet. No, but some matches went down to the wire. I remember when I played last season. It can happen, but it hasn't happened yet this season. Maybe today.
Yeah, we might see it because we have actually two teams who are very closely matched and have good chances. We have our front runner, St. Louis University, as you can see. They have a perfect score, but also the team they're playing today, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, also has a perfect score, which means someone's perfect score is going to get destroyed. Do you have any predictions?
Yeah, it's gonna be a close one. I feel like St. Louis might be a slight favorite, but I'm really excited to see SRM play. It's their first time competing in the Collegiate Chess League. They're off to a great start, so I'm really curious to see what they can do against the St. Louis team.
Absolutely, and they have kind of a stacked lineup as well. Of course, SLU always has a stacked lineup. You were part of it earlier. Not anymore, but you were one of their main bringers there. So I'm sure we will see what they have to offer coming up soon.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a close one. Like I said, I feel like SLU should be a slight favorite, but yeah, very interesting to see this SRM team. Like I said, we haven't had them on the broadcast yet, but we'll talk about it soon enough. But they have a pretty strong team, and that's why they're 2-0.
Absolutely, they have a very strong team. So today it will be St. Louis versus SRM, after Athens versus Prague, and they have not had a great season so far. Neither of them have gone to points, so you will see who will get on the board this match. Then we will not be covering, but they will still be going on, Virginia versus Rio Grande and Mizzou versus Yale.
Yeah, so some very exciting matches. And one thing I'm curious about is if I know that Antipov is at the US Championship, probably working for Fabiano Caruana. I'm curious if he can also sneak in a CCL performance for the Mizzou team. But yeah, lots of exciting edges, lots of exciting action ahead of us today, Jules. Let's talk a little bit about the top performing players, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, and as we see here, the top performing player that will be playing this next round, SLU versus SRM, is Srihari LR, and he has a win percentage of 75%. So he's second overall in all of the league, doing very, very well so far. And as you can see, actually, many of their players are really high up when it comes to accuracy and percentages of wins in the league. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, it's really interesting to see this matchup between SLU and SRM. As we can see, players from both teams are in the top performing players. One player that really stands out to me is Shelov Oberoi. He's an NM on the St. Louis team, but as we see, he's on 6.5 out of 8, win percentage of 75%. One player that's missing here is Robby Kevlishvili. He's been off to a bit of a slow start. Let's see if he can pick it up this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And anything can happen. It can all turn around. But as you see here, the first boards that we'll be playing, well, not that we'll be playing, but board 1 will be Grandmaster Robby Kevlishvili, GM Pranesh M from SRM. In St. Louis, board 2 will be GM Batsurin Dan Basurin. Second board for SRM will be IM Hari Krishnan. Third board for St. Louis will be GM Nicolazzi. And then for SRM, it will be IM Srihari LR. And then board 4 will be NM Shelov Oberoi for St. Louis, and for SRM, it will be IM Srihari L. So actually, if you look at these lineups, it's one of the closer ones we've had so far when it comes to rating-wise.
It's a very close one. Yeah, no, for sure, because we see that the St. Louis team has 3 GMs, SRM has only 1 GM, but SRM compensates that by having 3 IMs on the other boards. St. Louis has an NM on the last board, but as we see, Shelov has been doing great. Again, I give the slight edge to the St. Louis team, but it's going to be a close one. And Jules, as we're talking, the games are already underway.
Oh, the games have begun. How exciting. What do you see so far? What do you think of these openings?
Yeah, so we see a bit of a double fianchetto here by Srihari L against Robby Kevlishvili. B6, very solid stuff by Robby. He recaptures with the pawn. And yeah, all of the pieces still on the board. But yeah, I see Batsurin, he's playing from the Slew team room. Robby, he's playing from his room. I think Nicolosi as well. And I wonder where Shelov is playing from. I wonder if he's playing from the Slew team room as well. But yeah, what I like about Robby's position is that all of the pieces are still on the board. So that gives him plenty of potential to outplay his opponent.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we look at Robbie, he has had a tough couple of weeks. Do you think that will affect his performance, or do you think each day is a new one?
I think you're absolutely right. Each day is a new one. It's a week ago. You know, if you play classical tournament, then it might be difficult to get over a loss because you lose a game. Then you have to play the very next day. Here, he's had a wait. He's had a week to shake it off. Robbie is a very strong blitz player, rated over 3,000. So I'm sure that he's going to find his form very soon. And yeah, let's see how he will do this week.
And for you guys who don't know, he has a quite funny name on Chess.com. His username is Groovy Kettle. I'm not sure what the story is behind that, but maybe if we get to interview him, we can ask him. It's always fun to see all the usernames of these top players, but he does play a lot of blitz. He should be doing better in the CCL so far, so I think he has a good chance to turn it all around. So looking at these boards, what do you think is the sharpest position so far, Ben?
Yeah, great question, Jules. One board that stands out to me is the game of Dambasuren, who has just broken in the center with the move d5, d4, attacking the knight on c3. So it'll be interesting to see how that game will develop. I think in Robbie's game, we'll see a lot of slow maneuvering. So that game is going to be interesting for sure. And as always, I'm really curious to see how Shelov will do. He's playing in the bottom right-hand side, playing against the top player of the SRM team.
Right, board one versus board four, but as we saw in the statistics, he's been doing exceptionally well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, really, he's been carrying the St. Louis team in some of the matches, and also here today against Pernesh, he is not shy. He is going for an attack on the king side with an early g4, and I see the Jobava London Knight on c3 again. His specialty is working out great for him in this season.
I wonder if anyone who's going to play him, who knows they're going to play him, just studies up on the Jobava London, because he plays it every single time, and it's gotten him some very good positions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I feel like most players in the Collegiate Chess League. I mean, it's a very good question. How do players get ready for the matches? I feel like most players just wing it a little bit. I mean, if players prepare for a classical match, they definitely look at the openings. But I feel like here people just sit down and play. But as we progress in the season, I think we might see the players taking opening preparation a little bit more seriously, and then the players might have a look at his Jobava London.
Absolutely, especially with an opening like that, it can be extremely sharp. So you need to know what you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what to do unless you've faced it a lot before. But I don't think it's a very common weapon at the higher levels in classical. What do you think?
Yeah, we don't see the Jabava London a whole lot at the higher levels in classical. You're absolutely right about that. But in Blitz, it's a very popular weapon. So let's see how it's going to fare for Shelov. Let's have a look at his game. I really like how he's doing against Pernesh. Again, he's not shying away from the complications. He's up a pawn. He could maybe capture another pawn on d5 here. I don't see why not. But talking about Shelov, really talking about how big of a blitz expert he is. We can tell from his rating, which is 2886, which is really high for an NM.
Yeah, that is very high for an NM. I'm not sure you see that very often. But yeah, it's really helped him out here. So he is not to be underestimated.
Mm-hmm. And we see Shelov repeating the moves, going 94. Bishop d7 was played by Pranesh, and I'm 92 back. I think Shelov should play on, even though he's playing the highest seed on the SRM. Oh, he just goes. Oh, well, he just goes for the draw. I thought just taking on d5, and he had good chances to win. Or, well, anyway, this game ends in a draw. Still, of course, a good result for Shelov, but a little bit too shy, perhaps. So let's go back to bird's eye view.
That was
Jules,
a good result. Yeah. Go ahead.
is there a game that stands out to you?
Let's take a look. Let's see. Perhaps we could check out the Robby Kevlishvili game. Might be a good one to check out. Is there any that you think are particularly sharp?
Yeah, I feel like all the games are heating up. So let's stay in bird's eye view for now, so we have a clear overview of what is happening in all of the matches. Yeah, I feel like this is going to be a close one. I mean, all of the players are good on both teams, because sometimes there is a team where, hey, there is this weak link. That's where they wanna punch. But here that isn't really the case. I mean, Shelov is doing a great job holding his own against grandmasters. And Jules, we see that you're commentating today from a different location. Maybe you can tell the viewers a little bit about that.
Yes, I'm currently in Los Angeles right now, and when you go to full screen, you will see that I actually have a bird behind me, and you might hear a chirp every now and then. I promise you, something's not wrong with the screen. It's just the bird. So I am currently staying with the Botezes for a little bit and pet sitting the bird. So we have someone commentating with me today.
Okay, nice, nice. All right, well, anyway, let's perhaps have a look at this game between Robby Kevlishvili and Srihari L. There's two Sriharis actually on the SRM team. There's Srihari L and there's Srihari LR. Very interesting position here. We see that white has a knight in the center, attacking the pawn in g4. But Robby does have the bishop pair, and especially the light squares around white's king could be a little bit weak, as white has given up their light square bishop. Robby also has an edge on the clock, so I'm really curious to see how this one will develop.
I'm wondering, so that bishop pair seems very important, Ben, but would you say it would be worth giving it up to displace that knight on the outpost, or do you think there's a way to save both?
Yeah, very good question. I mean, it is a little bit awkward to defend that pawn in g4. The only way I really see to do so is the move f5, but then white can maybe get the queens off with the move queen c4. Taking on e5 certainly is an option, but white's going to recapture with the pawn and follow up with a quick rook to d6. And that's why Robby goes for the move f5. So let's see what Srihari is going to do here. He does have the option to get the queens off, so let's see if he will take advantage of that.
Do you think it's a strong choice to get the queens off when your opponent has the bishop pair?
Good question. I feel like often the bishop pair is a long-term asset, right? I mean, grandmasters always like to say, oh, the bishops are better than the knights, and people are like, okay, well, why? I feel like really as the game progresses on and on, in the end game, the bishops can really come to their full power. And we see the move d5 here by white. I wonder what he has in mind after the move queen d6, blocking the d-pawn and attacking the knight. Honestly, I don't see it. And let's see, I feel like Robby is also looking a little bit confused. And yeah, he plays queen e6, so I think Srihari is in trouble here.
Yeah, that looks really tough. How do you prevent... I mean, that b2 bishop is pinned. Oh, how do you get out of that? Are you just losing a piece, Ben?
I think so, yeah. I don't see a move here for white. I mean, f4, you can take en passant with either pawn. So I think Srihari is in a world of trouble here, as he's also getting down to a minute on the clock. So we've talked about this before. Robby's had a bit of a slow start, but this win is going to be, if he does win this game, it will be really good for his confidence to start the match off on the right foot.
And it was such a tempting move to make d5, get rid of any issues, but yeah, that's a little unfortunate. That is a strong start for Robby. Maybe that's the confidence boost he needs to go 4 out of 4. What do you think?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it like before these matches, I mean, I've played many of them. You never really know what to expect. It's always nice to win the first game. And then if you win the second match as well, you think like, hey, today might be a good day. Let's try to go 4 out of 4. But yeah, I feel like the first match really is important for your confidence and to know where you're at in terms of your form. So I'm pretty sure Robby will win this game, and I think we can expect a good performance of him today.
Absolutely, Ben. And it's also extremely important because this is the first game that SRM has played on the stream, and this is their first time in Division 1 as well. So they have a lot of strong players, but it can be a little nerve-wracking if you're not used to the format. Meanwhile, SLU has been champions before. They've been around for a little bit. So they're more used to not only the time format, but what it's like competing on stream. Do you think that will make a difference?
I don't think so right now, but I mean, you are absolutely right that players like Robby, Batsurin, they have experience from previous seasons playing in the Collegiate Chess League. I think that definitely means something. But let's remind everybody of the format. There are 8 teams in this league. The top 6 will qualify for the playoffs, and the top 2 will be automatically seeded in the semifinal. So it's important to make the top 2. Then you are already one stage further, and that's why this match is pretty important. I feel like whoever wins this one has very good chances of making the top 2.
No, that's very true. They've also had a perfect score so far. That's so impressive in the season, being able to maintain a perfect score.
Yeah, no, they've done a great job. So yeah, they're doing great. Robbie, he's now the new captain. He's doing his job. But let's see what's happening here. He's certainly winning as he has two extra bishop, but White still has these pawns on the queen side, so it's not completely over yet.
Yeah, that was a great job of creating counterplay with that a4 pawn. I mean, perhaps it's too slow, but it looks very dangerous.
Hmm. Yeah, well, he's got to try something. We see Robbie going bishop to e5. For the moment that black... Oh, I was going to say, for the moment that king is sitting safe on h2, but I like the move g5 by Robbie. He's aiming to blast open on the king side. I feel like white just has to go a6 and pray that there's nothing. But now queen f3, black is handed a tempo.
Yeah, absolutely. He's playing very, very well. Especially his opponent has 10 seconds on the clock versus a minute and 21 in such a complicated position. That is not where you want to be, Ben. Ooh,
No, definitely not against a strong player like Robbie. Bishop takes g3. Great stuff by Robbie, sacrificing the
sacrifice.
bishop. Perhaps it wasn't necessary, but he's picking up a lot of pawns with check, and it feels like there's got to be a win somewhere.
Yeah, but you still have to be careful of those pass pawns on ABC and file. Oh, there we go. That g3 pawn.
Mm-hmm. All right, rook c2. Srihari still fighting on. In the meantime, we have some results on the other boards. The game between Batsurin and Srihari LR ended in a draw, and Nicolosi lost with the white pieces against Hari Krishnan. So Robbie has to win this game to even up the match, but I'm pretty sure he will.
Wow, that's very, very nice. Yeah, so if Robbie is able to win this game, that means that they'll be even. That is a strong start for both teams. Again, they've both been doing evenly this season. So I think we're going to get our closest match so far. That's my prediction. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a close one. Yeah, the SRM team, I mean, it's my first time seeing them play, and they're doing a good job. They're hanging with this strong St. Louis team. So I'm very curious to see how they will do in the second round, Jules.
Absolutely. And let's take a look at the players' performance now that all of the games are finished for round one.
Mm-hmm. Yep, let's have a look here. We see it says 2-1 for SRM. Now it's 2-2 as Robbie won his game. Yeah, very evenly matched, these two. It's I'm curious to see how Shelov will continue to do. I feel like he was a little bit too shy playing against the top board of SRM. I think he could have gone for more. He had a big advantage. It's great for the St. Louis team also that Robbie is finding his form. As the board one, he really can carry the team. So I'm curious to see how the players will do in round number 2.
It will be very interesting to see how they do. That being said, it's very even so far. I'm very excited for maybe our first tiebreak yet, Ben.
Yeah, that could very easily happen. Yeah, so let's see if that's going to happen in this match. I still feel like St. Louis should be a slight favorite, again, since they have the 3 GMs, but I feel like the IMs that SRM has are good players. There are no pushovers whatsoever. And yeah, let's hope for Nicolosi. He lost the first game, that, there was just a little accident and that he's not off form today.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just takes one person waking up, like you said. There could be a weak link in any of the teams, and it could depend on the day as well. Someone could just be having an off day, and that could decide a match.
Yeah, so let's see what's going to happen in round number 2. We have some very interesting pairings, and one pairing that could be dangerous potentially for the St. Louis team is Nicolosi playing with the black pieces against Pranesh. Pranesh is the top player on the SRM team. Nicolosi lost that first game with white. Now he's having the toughest pairing, playing the board 1 with black. So let's see how he will do. The games are going to get underway very soon. And yeah, let's see how Robbie's going to do. He won the first game with black. Great result. Now he's having the white pieces to build on that momentum.
Oh, I didn't even remember that. Yes, of course, he won with black. So that is a great start as well. He will be playing someone who's a board higher, I believe. But I think he still has good chances, especially rating-wise.
For sure, yeah. And Robbie here taking on the French with 92. Srihari goes for an early c5. And I feel like Robbie's had plenty of games in this variation, both in classical, also in blitz games. The head coach of the St. Louis team, Varakobian, he likes to play the French defense, and they've fought in many battles on this battleground. On board 2, we see Batsurin starting off, inviting the Nimzo Indian for black. But Suhari doesn't go for the Nimzo Indian. He invites Batsurin into the Benoni, which is a very risky opening choice.
Yeah, the Benoni. I mean, it's painful playing it. It's painful to play against it. It's just one of those openings where no one's really having a lot of fun. Black doesn't have a lot of space in the Benoni, but I know that some people really love playing it. Could you say why?
And wow, let's have a look at what's happening on board 3. The game between Pranesh and Kacharava is on fire, as it started out as a fried liver. Kacharava sacrificing a pawn and an exchange very early on. Maybe we can quickly go to that one, as the computer is already indicating that Nicolosi has a winning advantage.
Wow, a fried liver attack. I haven't seen one of those in forever.
Mm-hmm. All right, so queen d3 by Pranesh, but I wonder what he has in mind here after the move knight b4. Attacking the queen, the knight cannot be captured as queen takes c1 is checkmate, and knight b4, he finds it. If you take on b5 with check, I think that's the only move. Black goes bishop d7 back to block, and then knight c2 will be coming. I think Nicolosi, I mean, this is exactly what the doctor ordered.
What the order doctor. Got it.
The order, yes, what the doctor ordered. He lost the first game with black, but after 12 moves, he lost the first game with white, but after 12 moves, he's already winning with black against the top board of the SRM team.
And would you mind if we take a look at how this game started? I think it could be kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, great point. So let's take it from the very beginning. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, the start of the Italian game, knight f6, and white goes knight g5, going for the fly liver. d5 is the main move, takes knight a5, bishop b5 check, black has to block. And here white has many options. The main move here has become bishop d3, but white went for queen f3, a very sharp line, and black here went for the sharpest line as well. C takes b5, sacrificing not only a pawn, but now also the exchange, queen c7. But black has a big lead in development, and this queen is often a little bit stuck. The queen jumped back, knight c6, c3, bishop g4, and here the queen had to go to g3, but he went to d3, and again now, knight b4, great move, check, bishop block, knight c2, and he's picked up the rook in the corner. Nicolosi is crushing it so far. He's up a bishop for 2 pawns, I believe. So let's see if he can get a win here for the Salinas team.
Right, and does he need to save his knight in order to make that work?
Yeah, good question. I think so. Yeah, I think for him to keep the big part of his advantage, it will be nice for him to save the knight. That's why Pranesh played b3, trying to trap it. And now he goes knight a3. So let's see what Nicolosi is doing here. He must realize that he is having a winning position here, but converting winning position is easier said than done.
Especially against someone like Pranesh, who's a very, very strong blitz player. I believe he is almost 3,100 on Chess.com blitz. That's insane. So definitely top 100.
Yeah, no, very strong grandmaster. So it's not over by any stretch. Queen b5 check, tricky move. I guess the idea is that in case of bishop d7, he wants to go queen c5. And then after a trade, the knight on c2 is feeling a little bit trapped. It might not be that easy to save it. So still anything that can happen in this game. We'll see how this one is going to progress. But Jules, do you want to perhaps go back to the bird's eye view?
Yeah, we could take a look.
All right, so if we look around, I feel like St. Louis is doing pretty well. If we see the top right-hand corner, Batsurin has a great advantage against the Benoni, and also Robby is having a nice position in the top left-hand corner against Srihari LR.
Yeah, it looks like Robby is doing very, very well so far, especially after last game. And I did ask you why anyone would play the Benoni, and maybe that little sarcastic remark is being proven right by this position, but the Benoni can be very difficult to play, but also very difficult to face. So no matter what evaluation says, I think there are still chances, no?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The game is definitely not over, but I really like how Batsurin is handling this position. He's got strong pressure in the center. b4, great move by him, trying to break down on Black's queenside majority. I feel pretty good about his chances to get the win in that one. And as we speak, I feel like Nicolosi's advantage is dwindling. He's down on time. Pranesh is fighting back, so that one is certainly not over. And what do you? I feel like also Shelov. He's again staying true to his style. He sacrificed a pawn, but we'll see how it'll work out in the bottom right-hand corner.
This is a very interesting round, Ben, because anything could happen here. I mean, really any combination of scores is still possible at the moment. And interesting on what you were saying about Pranesh and Nicolosi's game. Yes, it does seem like maybe that knight's going to have a hard time getting out.
Yeah, no, it does seem difficult for the knight to come back. Queen c5, white threatening checkmate in one. I think Nicolosi is going to have to trade the queens here. I don't really see a good alternative, but then I wonder how exactly this knight is escaping. So we'll see what's going to happen. But yeah, I feel like in these matches, it's really nice to take the lead at some point, right? I mean, the first round was a tie. It is nice to take the lead. That will make you feel a little bit more comfortable. And if you're behind, that could make you feel a little bit stressed, like you know you're gonna have to win games. And then if one round goes wrong, all of a sudden the match might be over, right? So this round is pretty important for both teams.
No, that's so true. It might be hard to claw your way out of a disadvantage in this round, especially since it's the second round. So we are kind of getting down to the wire. And someone in chat said they love it when the fried liver happens to them. It is very difficult when your opponent plays something sharp, as we've seen SRM do. It seems like SRM's openings are very sharp and very trap oriented. It might be part of the strategy or maybe just the style of the players. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's going to be super interesting to see how they will handle the complications here. In the meantime, Nicolosi is getting down to a minute. But yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, some players when they play knight f6, they're like, "Oh, please play the fried liver," and some are hoping that their opponent won't do it. I don't like this move by Nicolosi. He's hanging the pawn on e5. White can just take it, and again, I feel like Nicolosi is losing control.
Yeah, and take a look at how calm and collected Pranesh is here. He doesn't really immediately care about getting back the material. He knows he can wait. He has a little bit of time. But if you take there, perhaps could the knight get free or no?
Yes, yes. Now the knight is jumping out with knight a3, but maybe he can go c4, keep the knight a little bit stuck for longer. Yeah, it's still, yeah, and there we have it, c4. Pranesh fighting hard, having a big lead on the clock. I don't like Nicolosi's chances here. I feel like it's easier to play with white. This knight is still a little bit stuck. He's also way down on the clock. I think despite this opening disaster, I feel like Pranesh might just take this game.
Yeah, it could happen, especially with 45 seconds to 3 minutes and 20 seconds. That is a crazy time difference. And they say the hardest games to win are the games that are won. Probably for reasons like
Hmm.
this. You take a lot of time, you're trying to convert your advantage, but it might become a little bit difficult. Also, look at those strong pawns.
Hmm. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it is a little bit difficult psychologically. Like you're handed a winning position out of the opening, but you still have to convert it. You might try to be a little bit too accurate. That's when you take too much time. Things turn out to be not so easy after all, and then yeah, you might get a little frustrated that your opponent is fighting back. So let's see how this one is going to progress. Let's, Jules, do you want to go back to the bird's eye view to see what's happening in the other games?
Sure, yeah, we can take a look.
All right. So actually, Nicolosi is not the only player with a knight stuck on c2. Shelov's knight is also a little bit stranded on the c2 square. But the good thing for the St. Louis team is that it looks like Batsurin and Robbie are doing some good business on the top two boards. So we might see a tie again here, Jules.
Another tie. That would be an absolutely crazy result. You know, selfishly, I'm kind of hoping for a tiebreak because we haven't seen one yet. I think that would be a lot of fun. But chances are that someone's going to get advantage at some point. Perhaps it'll be this round, perhaps it'll be round 3. Or are these teams just so evenly matched?
I feel like they are. I feel like this match easily could go all the way down to the wire. In the meantime, Pranesh, he's up 3 pawns. Nicolosi, it looks like he's just going down. So very unfortunate stuff for him. I also don't really see it happening for Shelov. In the meantime, I like Robbie still has to convert, and so has Batsurin. Batsurin up a pawn with a good position. So yeah, I feel like this round has very good chances of ending in a tie again.
Absolutely. And another commenter says chess is so great, even if people in these ratings get in trouble after 10 moves. Yes, it doesn't matter if you're a grandmaster or international master. If you play some of these sharp, crazy openings, you definitely can be dead lost after 10 moves, but converting is very difficult. I feel like it's what these strong players do best, is getting a bad position and being able to make so many complications that they can come back from it, which is what we've seen Pranesh do, some of the other players at different times. I mean, and some other players seem to have just held on to a strong advantage like Robbie the whole time.
Yeah, Robbie is finishing things off in his game. Bishop d5, a last tricky attempt by Srihari. Let's see what Robbie will do, but I feel like maybe just king g1 should seal the deal. In the meantime, Pranesh wins his game and he takes the lead for the SRM team. Also, Shelov is completely lost. He's down a knight and a pawn, so he's going to lose that one. But Surin still has to finish his game off, so maybe it could be SRM taking the lead. But I predict a tie.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially when you look at the time on Batsurin's clock, 44 seconds to 9 seconds. That's quite the time difference. For you guys who don't know, it is 5 plus 2, so they have increment, but that is not a lot of increment. That's definitely not a lot
Right.
of increment.
Yeah, and Batsurin is about to win his game. Black cannot defend against a checkmate, and there we have it. All right, so the last game of the round is the game between Robbie and LR Srihari. I think
Is that a
Srihari, I think he might have a fortress. Yeah, I don't see how
is that
White
a
can make progress here.
fortress?
I think
I don't think
so.
I've ever seen one of those in real life, Ben.
Well, here you have it. I don't see what White can do. The rook can stay on f6, can also move to f4, but he's got 20 seconds on his clock. It's not so easy to defend these with little time. An idea for Robbie might be, although I feel like even if you take on f6, that pawn in game should be drawn, so I don't see a way for Robbie to win here.
And can you explain a little bit what a fortress is?
hmm Yeah, no, great question. A fortress is where even though you might have a material advantage, there's just no way to make progress, right? So we see Black being down here. He has a rook against the queen, but the rook is making sure the king cannot go any further. Every single piece is protecting each other. And so there's no way for White to progress here. I feel like rook f4. Oh, maybe on h4. That's a tricky move. So maybe you just move the king, or that might be fine as well.
And it's very impressive how he's keeping this up with 10 seconds. Fortresses definitely are not easy to hold. Do you do you think Robbie's going to try something a little bit tricky to try to take advantage of his time advantage? Or is there nothing he can
hmm
do?
He is certainly going to try. This game will go on for a while. I mean, he's got nothing to lose. He can draw this game or win. Um, but yeah, it looks like Srihari is defending well. A trick for Robbie might be to shake things up with a timely h4 push. But the problem is, even if all of these pawns disappear, let's say the G and H pawns disappear on both sides, this rook on f6 can then swing between f6 and h6, and that's a very easy fortress. So I feel like Srihari is going to hold here.
I'm wondering if chat, do you think you could hold this fortress? Because it looks a little bit tricky, but we're seeing some amazing technique. And the time is pretty even now, actually. The time advantage has gone away. They're exactly even on time. And I am Srihari. LR seems unbothered. Oh
Wait,
my.
King
What happened
h7, he
there?
trapped his own queen. King h7, he trapped his own queen. Oh,
Oh,
h4. Wait,
no
now
way.
he's shaking things up. Wait, Robbie, he might have lost the game, but now, wait, g5, this is getting tricky. You're going to have to move your rook along the 6th rank. This might still end in a win for Robbie. Rook
Oh,
a6,
and
and then
he's
I don't see a
thinking.
win. I think rook a6 is fine. And he finds it, yeah.
You know, it's almost
Yeah.
impossible, Ben, to find those traps because when you're so used to defending, just switching to that winning mentality, especially with so little time, that's tough. But that was very funny.
Queen e by Robbie, but now, oh, take queen d3, you can still try, but rook g6, Black is just in time to defend, and there's not much White can do. I feel like Black is still holding. g4 is going to come next. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, it looks like this one is just going to be a draw. Tough for Robbie. He was completely winning earlier on, and we see him being disappointed with this result.
Yeah, he definitely does not look happy in the cameras there. Also, that was a very important win for St. Louis because now that means SRM is taking the lead. That would
Yeah.
be I think that'd be a pretty decent upset if SRM is able to win against St. Louis. What do you think?
Yeah, no, that'd be a great upset for the SRM team. And yeah, Robbie not happy with that one. We could see that on the camera. The St. Louis team is now behind, not by a big margin, but they're gonna have to strike back. Yeah, unfortunate result for Robbie right there, but great defense by Srihari.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the players' performance this round. As we see, we've had both boards are on 1.5 out of 2 points here so far, both board ones. And then if we look at GM Batsurin Dambasurin, he's on 1.5 out of 2 versus, and meanwhile, I Am Hari Krishnan is 2 out of 2, so that is the best score so far. And then board 3's Nicolosi 0 out of 2, Srihari LR 1 out of 2, and board 4's NM Shell of Obore is 0.5 out of 2 against board 1, and I Am Srihari L is 0 out of 2 so far. So it is 3.5 to 4.5. Wow, that is that's quite an interesting start. What do you think? Any predictions?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a close one. I feel like the St. Louis team has good chances if Nicolosi picks up his form, but so far he hasn't been able to do so. Let's hope for him that he will do better in the last 2 rounds. The good thing for Nicolosi is that he's had the toughest 2 pairings already, right? He's now going to play the bottom 2 boards, so it should become easier for him in the next 2 rounds. But yeah, 0 out of 2 is of course not a great start for him.
No, but he will get his chances. And we had some interesting games, Ben. If there's a game review you want to look over?
Yeah, let's have a look at the game between Dambasurin and Srihari. Dambasurin has been doing great so far for the St. Louis team. He is on 1.5 out of 2. So let's see what happened in this game. Basurin did a great job centralizing all of his pieces, and in this position right here after bishop d7, he went for the very thematic pawn break e5, opening up all of his pieces. So we saw black taking, bishop takes, rook takes, attacking the queen stepped to f6. Here he traded off the rooks and followed up with knight e4, attacking the queen. Black played queen d4, and here he perhaps had a bit of a miss. The move here for white was the very strong queen h6, threatening to go queen f8, which is really hard for black to stop. But instead he played knight d6, jumping his knight in. This perhaps would have given Srihari some chance to hold, but Srihari was super low on time. He gave a check on a1, that was the right move, but after king h2, he had to find the only move to hang on with queen f6, but it's really hard to find this. His bishop is under attack. The idea is that black then has a perpetual with queen f4 and queen c1. Instead he played queen e1, very natural, defending the bishop on e8, but here Basurin found a very strong queen to g5. And there's not much black can do about the queen stepping to f6, the knight jumping to f5, and his black king is simply getting checkmated. So Srihari played c3, queen f6 check, king g8, knight f5, and black resigned. So great job by Basurin, who's overall done a good job this season for the St. Louis team.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're going to take a look at something real quick, and then we're going to head to break, so stay with us. Ever wanted to dress like a king without needing a crown, or like a knight without owning a horse? Now you can. Our chess piece costumes let you live the dream. Whether you're the bossy queen, a sneaky bishop, or just a pawn in someone else's game, we've got you covered, literally. Use !merch in chat or visit chess.com/shop to get the party started. We will be back with more CCL right after this break.
My name is Ella Papanek, and I'm a quantitative sports trader here at SIG. I started playing chess when I was 8 years old. My brother taught me, and I grew up very close to Union Square Park and Washington Square Park in New York City, and so I used to go and play with the people there in the parks. Chess players are very good decision makers. They're constantly reasoning about the hypothetical paths that the game could take. They're also very good at thinking about what their opponent is thinking and integrating that into their decision-making process.
My name is Jerry Yang, and I'm a macro analyst here at SIG. I discovered chess pretty much after watching Queen's Gambit. I was like, this is an awesome game. The strategy and the calculation is really what I think makes the game beautiful, where every time you're asking yourself that question of, hey, I'm making this move, and what possible moves might they do in response? And then zooming back out to yourself, I think is really like what makes chess a wonderful game.
In chess, you often face situations where you have to make decisions under time pressure, And so you're not going to be able to realistically assess all of the options, but you still have to think through what matters and what doesn't matter and make a decision off of that, which is a common thing that I have to do in trading.
I do use that reciprocal thinking on my day-to-day, where I'm asking myself that question of, hey, what are other people going to do in stock markets and other markets, etc. I need to be extremely cognizant of all of these other pieces on the metaphorical chessboard in order to distill that into one, hey, like this is the driving narrative, this is what's going to happen, and this is what's important for trading.
I'd classify trading as a game, really, that you're playing with competitors and basically every market participant in the world. My path, I came in as a poker player, but I think that the main thing that everybody has in common is a sense of competitiveness and interest in gaming and strategy in general. Yes, you can actually use gaming skills for your career and for something to do on a day-to-day basis.
I strongly suggest you stop banning me when my account didn't even have an entire game played yet. This seems very unfair. I'm better than 100% of your GM level players and you stupid banned me. WTF is your SU? I hope Bobby knows it and is auto-resigning in his grave. You.
Wow. Dan, you want to run with that one?
I thought maybe you would take it. I mean, he apparently, if we're banning him before he's even completed a game, I don't know. I mean, kudos to you and the crew, Casa. I don't even know what else to say to that.
A lot of times people that, have played games, they might finish them and they react and they're so hot, and step away from your laptop or your phone, decompress a little bit, give yourself the opportunity to turn that temperature down before you respond. Like that's the first bit of advice, because if you're dealing with support like that, you're gonna have a hard time dealing with people in your own life. So take a moment, think before you make that move, and then maybe then the response will be a little bit different. Rest in peace, Bobby Fischer, one of the goats of the game. At the end of the day, I don't think he's auto-resigning in his grave. I don't believe that. I think he might have a lot of perspectives on the way the game has gone. I don't think he's thinking like that.
Why should I open a new account if you guys keep on closing them?
Well, look, I mean, at the end of the day, we're closing your account for a reason, and so the behavior has to change for you to, keep an account open for an extended period of time. So clearly the behavior isn't changing, and that's, why you're in the situation you're in. There's such a great opportunity to enjoy your time on the site. We have so many things you can do. You can play, you can talk to people, you can learn, you can watch top games. Your experience is going to be soured if you're, making these decisions. So
do better. Do better. I like that. Maybe we'll get lucky and that user will watch this video. And just maybe that'll be all they needed to hear. Oh, do better. Okay.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Collegiate Chess League Fall 2024, brought to us by our sponsors Susquehanna. We have round 4 between SRM and round 3, I'm getting ahead of myself, and SRM has taken the lead so far. So it's been a really, really interesting match. What do you think, Ben?
It's for sure been a very interesting one. The St. Louis team is behind. We haven't seen that very often. And I'm curious to see if they can come back. I feel like they should, but especially some of the players are going to have to step it up.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to have to step it up. But we'll see what happens in round 3. It seems like SRM really woke up ready to play, but today, or this round, we're going to be seeing boards that are a little closer to each other. So board 1, Robby Kevlishvili will be playing board 2, I am Hari Krishnan. Board 2, Batsurin will be playing board 1, Pranesh M. Board 3, Nicolosi will be playing board 4, Srihari L. And then NM Shelev Oberai will be playing IM Srihari LR. So we have boards that are a little bit closer to each other. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, some very interesting pairings. One that really stands out to me is Batsurin playing with the black pieces against Pranesh. Pranesh had a bit of a slow start, drawing Shelev in the first round with black, but he seems to have found his footing. Batsurin also seems to be in form, so I think we can expect some great chess there. And I'm curious to see how St. Louis will do in the bottom 2 boards. Really, Nicolosi has to step it up. He started with 0 out of 2. He's having the white pieces here. It would be great for the match score and for his confidence if he can get a win here. And let's see how Shelev will do, as he always plays some enterprising chess, no matter who his opponent is.
Absolutely. Nicolosi is still on 0 points. However, when you are board 3 and board 4 in this format, you're playing up your first 2 rounds. So it's to be expected, although it's not always easy, even if you know you are not expected to win, to have 0 points going into round 3.
Yeah, it can, of course, hurt your confidence. We talked about that earlier on, that it is nice to win that first game. It's also nice to win the second game. Then you feel like, hey, I'm in good form today. Let's carry this all the way through. If you start with a loss and then you get a second loss from a winning position, that can be pretty annoying. So let's see how he will do. Nicolosi is playing the fianchetto variation against the King's Indian. And in the top 2 boards, we also see some very interesting stuff. We see Batsurin going for the Caro-Kann defense and Robby going for a Slav setup against the Reti. I feel like these games can really go either way.
Would you say, I know the King's Indian defense is very, very controversial. I don't know if anyone in chat has any opinions on it, but would you say that it is something that you like or approve of? Or what would you think about that opening?
It's a very combative opening. I think it might be the best opening if you want to fight for a win with black. But it also has its risks. I fought out countless battles against Diane Erditsky. He always plays I often play d4. He always plays the King's Indian, and then I always play the fianchetto variation. So we've had countless of games here, and I feel like white does have good chances for an advantage. But even then, black always has the tricks in the King's Indian. And, especially against Diane, it's never over until it's over. So we'll see how that will play out in this round. I mean, white is usually considered to be a bit better because he has more space.
Right, and I'm not sure if I'm reading the players' faces right, but Batsurin's been shaking his head a little bit. Do you think he's not very happy about the position, or perhaps he's just focusing? What do you think about this current position?
Yeah, he might not be happy. The computer is indicating that white has a big advantage. White's up a pawn has that half open g-file to work with. And I don't quite see what Batsurin has in exchange for that. So maybe he messed something up in the opening.
Absolutely, and it's very easy to do that with King's Indian defense, a super sharp opening. I have friends who've played it, and all the time they're like, I'm never going to play it ever again. But have you been coaching any members of the SLU team? Have you been involved in the season at all this year?
No, not at all. They have the head coach, Farouj Jacobian. He's leading the program. They also have assistant coach, Dario Svirt. So they are the ones coaching the players. I'm not involved right now, but I'm sure that when I'll be in St. Louis, I'd be more than happy to meet up with them, play some blitz. And I'm sure that will be great for both me, but also for them. In the meantime, look at what Pranesh is doing. He really wants to do some damage on the king side with this move h6.
Whew. That is spicy. And what is the idea of this, Ben?
Great question. Yeah, I think if black takes with the pawn, he wants to sacrifice his knight on f7. If black let's show it on the board. If black takes with the pawn, I think he wants to go knight takes f7, attacking the queen. If black takes queen h5, if you go up with the king, there will be rook g6 check, which is not going to end well for black. And if you go king f8 back, there will be bishop takes h6. So great stuff here by Pranesh. And if you take the rook, I think something similar is going to happen. If you take the rook in this position, I think also knight takes f7, sacrificing the knight, then you take here, you follow up with queen h5, so Batsurin already in a world of trouble. Pranesh, you always got to watch out for the board one. The board ones on either team can always do some damage, and that is what Pranesh is looking to do here.
Absolutely. And as we were talking about earlier before the stream started, Pranesh M is one of my favorite players to watch in Classical and in Blitz. He's very sharp. His calculation is absolutely insane. Like, you can see him playing games like this in Classical, which is quite rare at a higher level. He's just a very strong, promising player as well. And you can kind of see his aggressive style come out right now. He had kind of a tough start drawing board 4 and getting in a difficult position that he managed to win, but you know, it's those moments that really show you if a player can have the stamina to come back. So do you think he will have the stamina to pull the kind of performance that SRM needs to take the victory?
I think he will. I mean, he won the second round from a tough position. Right now, in round 3, he's having a winning position out of the gates. And wow, look at this. He sacrificed the knight on f7. I think king g8 is forced here. That's what Batsurin does. This looks terrifying for black with these passed pawns marching down the board, but I don't know if there's actually a win here for white, but it certainly looks very scary. And Pranesh, like you said, he's super aggressive. He also plays super fast, putting tremendous pressure on his opponents.
And incredibly accurate. If you look at the accuracy of this game so far, 92.8% is what Pranesh has so far against 76.8%. That is just an astounding accuracy, especially in such a complicated opening like King's Indian. That is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he's a strong GM. I mean, that's why he's rated very close to 3100 on Chess.com, and he's showing that right here. This looks really promising for white, but like I said, I don't see an immediate knockout just yet after queen takes f5. There is still queen f8, although at the very least you could take followed by g7. Looks pretty good. h7 is still met with king g7, so let's see what he's going to do. He has, of course, a lot of time to figure something out.
Right, and something super interesting about this position is white isn't even castled yet. Would you say that's standard for these King's Indian type positions, or do usually we see a opposite side castle by now?
Yeah, I feel like often white is going to go for queenside castling. So far, he's keeping his king in the middle. Yeah, the center is close, so right now, so far, Pranesh doesn't have to castle yet.
Right. Absolutely, because I think Batsurin's a little bit worried about getting checkmated right now to have any form of counterplay. But that being said, these games can switch pretty quickly, although there is a time difference here. It seems like Pranesh is up by almost a minute so far. He's been playing pretty well. How do you think time management influences these positions?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it is tough to defend a position like this with black if you are down on time. So we'll see how Batsurin is going to do. Jules, do you want to have a very quick look at the bird's eye view to see what's happening in the other games?
Yeah, let's take a look.
All right, so one thing that's quite concerning is the fact that Nicolas Checa is in a losing position again in the bottom left-hand side of our screen. Srihari is crashing through. Like we said, the King's Indian always has the potential to explode, and that's what Srihari is doing here. He's crashing through with his rook on e3. The knight on f4 is loose. This is not looking good for Nicolas Checa, and also Shelov is in trouble, as black is a powerful bishop pair and his pawns on the queen side are quite weak. Robby is doing well on board 1, but this could very well be a 3-1 victory for the SRM team. And if that happens, then St. Louis is going to have to do some big damage in the 4th round. So things are not looking good for Slu here.
Slu would need a major comeback. And right now, I know Slu is very happy that one of their main competitors, Mizzou, lost a match. But they might end up needing to take advantage of that. Because if they lose this match, it will be pretty tough for them to come back.
Yeah, of course, we're still very early in the season. I mean, a loss doesn't really hurt them too much. These two teams, Slu and SRM, I mean, I'm pretty certain that they will make it to the playoffs, but this is a big matchup for those top 2 spots. Like we said before, if you finish in the top 2, you'll be seeded in the semis. And I feel like those top 2 spots are mostly gonna be between, I guess, Slu, Mizzou, SRM, maybe Rio Grande. So again, for the top 2 spots, this is a big match. But Cern in the meantime is lost. Let's see, maybe Nicolosi can fight back. I mean, they're gonna have to strike back on a board if they want to keep this match a close one.
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting position, that Nicolosi versus Srihari game, especially since both of the kings are quite open, and it's a bit hard to find the attack for both sides. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Before it looked, I thought Nicolosi was going to go down in a couple of moves, but he's fought back tremendously. Let's see what Srihari is going to do. Srihari here has the opportunity to win the white queen, either with rook e2 or rook c3. He does it with rook e2, but it's not over yet. White has his rook on a 7 rank. Like you said, the black king on g8 is a little bit exposed, and if he can maybe swing the bishop around, bishop e3 into e6, but for the moment, rook takes g7 followed by 96 is a big threat. So bishop e5 by Srihari to stop that. Let's see what Nicolosi is going to do here.
Yeah, and it feels like, just looking at this, I mean, material aside, it seems like you'd almost want the queen, the rook, and the bishop versus 2 rooks, a knight, and a bishop. But maybe if those rooks can coordinate, it could be very dangerous. What would you do here if you were the side without the queen?
Yeah, great question. I honestly don't know. I mean, he's got 17 seconds to figure it out. Not looking easy at all. Knight g6, the computer doesn't like that. Wait, can you just take and like queen g5 and pick up the knight? Let's see if he's going to go for that. But yeah, knight g6 seems to be lacking punch. And yeah, that is what black is going for. Queen g5 looks good here, winning the knight on g6.
Not only winning the knight on g6, but you're also attacking the rook on c2 once you take that knight. Yeah, this is starting to look very difficult for Nicolosi, who might not get a point going into his 3rd round. But yeah, look at this time difference, a minute 30 seconds to 16 seconds.
Yeah, I just had a very quick glance. Pranesh has already won his game, so SRM taking a 2-point lead. The St. Louis team is going to have to strike back, and I feel like Nicolosi has to win this game to keep it a close one, but it's looking tough as his clock is ticking down. Srihari doing a great job here with the black pieces. In the meantime, Shelev also is in a losing position. Robby might get a win, but if Nicolosi loses and if Shelev loses, SRM will take a 3-point lead going into the final round, which means that St. Louis is going to have to win by 3 points to force a tiebreak or sweep to win the match. But yeah, I don't really see that happening against this SRM team.
Well, Ben, I mean, you have a lot of experience playing these leagues. Have you ever seen a comeback like that last round?
Yes, it happened last year when we played against Dallas. We were leading by 3 points, but then all of a sudden I lost. 2 of my teammates lost as well, and then the last game ongoing was Robby's game, and Robby was completely lost. So I thought, okay, Robby's gonna lose. We're gonna lose the match. Then I stepped away for a second, and then when I came back, he drew the game by a miracle. The match went to triple overtime. Joe, our producer, for sure remembers this as well, and we eventually managed to win. But that was the insanest Collegiate Chess League match that I've ever played. But yeah, comebacks do happen like that.
Overtime. Wow. And SLU is the back-to-back champion. So, I mean, it just shows that anything can happen. But triple overtime, I don't think I've ever seen that, like, in general. That's insane. I hope all the players got good sleep after that one.
It was very satisfying to win that match. Yeah, no, for sure. Those are the nicest one. In the meantime, Nicolosi trying to hold on here, but looks lost. Shelev has lost in the meantime, so SRM taking a 2-point lead. I really don't think White can hold this. Jules, do you perhaps want to go back to the bird's eye view to have a look at what's happening in Robby's game?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, so Robby here making some big decisions, offering the trade of bishops, but I don't know if this is winning. Oh wait, White blundered. He allowed a2. Now Robby is winning as he's up a bishop, so that's good for the St. Louis team. But again, if Nicolosi goes down, I think he is, they're facing a super tall task, and Nicolosi queen e1 is game over. But this as well, yeah, it is going to be a 3-point lead for SRM.
That is a great start for SRM. With only 1 round left to go after this, it's going to take a lot for SLU to be able to come back if they can, but it also seems like SRM is just playing very, very well. They seem very accurate. Would you say that that's an accurate estimation?
Yeah, no, they're playing great chess, playing quickly, putting pressure on the board, on the clock, and that's why they are leading. They're just a little bit more consistent. And again, Nicolosi is going to have to step it up. It's going to be tough for Slew to come back. However, I don't think it's impossible. They're playing against players all in their rating range, so if things go their way, they might pick up some wins here and there, and you might never know what happens in these last rounds. But 3 points is a lot in a match with 4 boards.
And if you look at this last game, it looks a little bit more depressing than my econ final. Like, this does not look very fun for white. It seems like the end is near.
The end is near indeed. Yeah, black. Queen b2 here. Yeah, there's nothing you can do about a2, a1. Nicolosi fighting on, but it's absolutely hopeless. So, yes, we will be looking at a 3-point lead for SRM going into the final round. The only thing that Nicolosi can save here is a disconnect, but there we have the resignation.
And we see it, a 3-point lead for SRM going into the last round, round 4. It's going to be pretty interesting what happens, and we're going to take a quick look at the player performances to see what's happened so far.
Yeah. Here we have Nicolosi on the screen. Again, he's yet to score his first point in the match, but if we have a look, again, the one thing that stands out is the fact that Nicolosi, he is on 0 out of 3 as a GM. You're gonna have to put points on the scoreboard. Maybe he can do so in the last round. Shelev, he's on half out of 3. I mean, he's been doing better in the other weeks as well. Let's see if he can find the confidence in the last round to get a point. I mean, the St. Louis team is going to have to win on almost all of the boards. So let's see let's see if they can do so. But it's looking tough. This SRM team is a tough team.
Absolutely, and both the board ones have been doing absolutely phenomenal. So we'll see what's happened. It's going to be interesting going into round 4. If Slew can manage to come back, that would be probably the most insane comeback we've seen so far this season. But I don't know. Do you have faith? I think it might be a little difficult.
It's difficult, but it's not impossible. So we see Robby playing with the white piece against Pernash. He's going to have to go for the win. Batsurin as well, he has the white pieces. Nicolosi is a GM. He's playing with the black piece on board 3, so he could win that game as well. And then Shella just has to hold the draw, so should be pretty easy for Slew to come back. So yeah, I expect it will be here for overtime.
All right, so we'll see. We will see. We'll see. Always the optimist. I love it. I mean, anything can happen. Commentator's curse is a real thing. You can say one thing, and then all of a sudden, every single player hangs their queen, Botez gambits, and all of a sudden you're in triple overtime. So you never know. You never know.
Yep, we're going to get underway any second now. Robby playing with white pieces. If you are 3 points behind, you cannot rely on all of your other teammates winning. You just know going into the final round that you have to win. You have to win. So let's see how Robby is going to do so. He's playing the Ruy Lopez, Pernash playing with a6 and knight of 6, and a very early bishop to c5. Now, some crazy lines can ensue here with c3. Black's main move is b5, but castles also move. I expect Robby to go d4 here, but one thing that is a little bit annoying for Robby is that Pernash is still playing quickly, and this is a pretty sharp line, as white often goes bishop. I think bishop g5 is the main move here. Perhaps Robby wanting a more quiet game with the move h3.
And I think e4, e5 gets the reputation of being a little bit slow and positional. Do you think that reputation's unfair?
I think there's definitely truth to that reputation. I mean, for example, Sicilian can be sharper, but these positions also have a lot of dynamic play left in them. So let's see how this is going to develop. In the meantime, on board 2, we see Batsurin taking on Hari Krishnan's Slav defense. So that'll be an interesting one as well. And Srihari LR against Karcharava has lifted off as well. White opening up with the Reti opening.
Is this a King's Indian attack, do you think? Will it turn into that?
It very well could. If white goes d3 and e4, then yes, we are talking about a King's Indian attack. White can also go d4 followed by c4, and then we are looking at a Catalan. So that's a great thing about the Reti. You can still go in many different directions. So let's see which one Srihari is going to choose. He seems a little hesitant here. Maybe his style might be more to go d3 and e4, but knowing that his team like every draw brings his team closer to the win. He might go for a more solid approach, and he goes for a double fianchetto with b3, bishop b2. I like, by the way, for Shelov what is happening on the bottom board, as at least with black, he should get chances in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in that game with Shelov, especially he had a great start drawing board 1, but since then has not been able to get a point. This will be a very important game for him. He's going to need to win this one with the black pieces in order to help his team come back.
Absolutely, and we see some interesting stuff in Batsurin's game, as some trades have taken place. White has a king on e2, but look at Hari Krishnan's clock. He's got more time than he started with, so he might still be in his preparation. That's definitely a game to look at for sure. Overall, even though St. Louis is behind by a lot, they definitely have a chance in this last round. I feel like it could very easily still be a close one.
Yeah, it could. And as I said, I very selfishly do love tie breaks. It's always fun to see that. We haven't seen it so far on the stream, so it'll be interesting if we can take a look at that. But also, it's really interesting to see these players' cameras and their faces they're making. It seems like everyone's very intently focused, and we've seen some interesting thinking faces over the past couple of matches. Someone was playing with their hair a lot. Other players like to rub their forehead. So I wonder if it does help your performance to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, it's always interesting to see what these players do when they get nervous. Jules, let's have a look at our matchup on the top board between Robby Kevlishvili and Pranesh. Both players are in form. They're on 2.5 out of 3. Robby needs to win this game. He needs to win. He has the white pieces. He has the advantage. His team is behind by 3 points. So let's see how he will try to do so. Pranesh wants to get the queens off, but since white has more space, I like the idea of keeping the queens on, but Robby trades them off.
And let me just ask, is there a reason that Robby is like bathed in darkness? Is he bathed in the fear of his enemies he's defeated over the chessboard, and now he's really bright? Okay, there's definitely something going on there.
I have no idea what's going on, but yes, it was super dark. Now it's super bright. I don't know. Maybe the sun is coming through and then going away. Maybe that is what's going on right now. Still, he has an advantage in the endgame. Maybe he can push forward on the king side with like g4 and h4. Again, he has to keep the pressure here on Pranesh, as his team needs to win more than ever now.
Right, and we'll contact CCL and tell them to send some of these players a ring light if they win. But love to see it. Also, if we're taking a look at the stats there for SRM, they're located in Chennai, India. There's 52,000 students. Wow, that is a huge campus. And they went 7-0 in 2024 season. So very strong team, absolutely deserving to be in Division 1, surprisingly for the first time this year.
Yeah, and it's really amazing to see how great India has become in chess. I mean, really all due to Vishy Anand. He's inspired literally a billion people to get into chess. And yeah, they've won the Olympiad. Now Gukesh is playing the World Championship. It'd be quite something if now they also win the Collegiate Chess Championship. I mean, hey, it would be nice if they also leave something for others to win. But they're doing great. They're doing great this season. So let's see if they can win it all. I think it's definitely not impossible.
And chess in India is truly spectacular. For you people who don't know, the first Indian world champion was actually also the first grandmaster. So really, Anand was able to start everything in India. And since then, which is very, very recent, it's only grown in maybe the past 30-ish years or so. So chess in India is still fairly new. Chess at a high level in India is still fairly new. And they're absolutely sweeping everything, like you said. So lots of interesting history there. We have to thank Anand for that. Just a fantastic player. Absolutely inspirational to so many people from all different places. But as we see, this team is seeming to do very well. This is a really interesting matchup, actually. Pranesh versus Kevlishvili, both very strong blitz players. Do you have any predictions?
It's looking a little bit dry. I mean, like I said, I didn't quite like Robby's decision to trade the queens off. Some more trades have taken place. There's certainly still play left in the position. But, I mean, with so many trades already taking place, it's going to be more difficult to make something happen. 96, excellent move by Pranesh, aiming to go to c5, put pressure on the pawn on a4, which will be annoying for Robby to deal with. Perhaps, Jules, we can go back to the bird's eye view to see what is happening on the other boards. So St. Louis, they're going to need a lot of wins.
Absolutely, and I'm still laughing at Robbie looking a little bit like a horror villain right there,
Mhm.
with his face half bathed in light. But okay, anything you notice here on these boards? Wow, look at that game between Nicolazzi and Triari. That's pretty interesting. That's getting sharp. What do you think?
Yeah, I like Nicolozi's chances. He's having a reverse Benoni. He's having a lot of space in the center. So he's doing great there. Again, his team needs a win, and I think he's got good chances to get it done. Big question is, can Shelov also get it done? He's playing with the black pieces against Srihari L. Very double-edged game there. One thing that stands out to me is the white rook on h3. Normally that rook would be on a square like h1, but sorry, on e1. So that could be a little bit problematic for white later on. In the meantime, Batsurin is looking very good against Hari Krishnan. So he could get the win for the St. Louis team, but the big question is, are the others going to get the win as well?
Yeah, that's going to be very, very tough for St. Louis. I know you have faith, and it definitely could happen. It does seem like, with anything happening in Pranesh and Robbie's game, with Nicolosi having a very strong position, and it seems Batsurin also having a strong position, maybe this is the comeback that they need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, they're fighting. They're fighting their hearts out. I mean, they know they're gonna have to win almost every single game. So, is there a game that stands out to you, Jules? Maybe let's go to the game of Nicolosi. He's on 0 out of 3. It would be great for him to get on the scoreboard and get a win for the SLU team.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see it.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I really like what he's just done here, positioning his knight on that super powerful f4 square. White has opened up the king side, but I feel like he's only weakening his own king. Queen g6, putting pressure on d3 and on g5. Again, this has to be a win for Nicolosi. I mean, he's up so much time, better position, putting pressure all over the board. But it's always easier. I mean, like you said, the hardest game to win is a one game bishop a5. That's a nasty move, hitting the rook on e1. Yeah, he might very well get the win here.
Yeah, you just have to give up the exchange there, don't you? Yeah, that is a little bit tough for International Master Shahari here. And as you can see, he's really focusing. But this is Nicolosi's probably most important game of the match.
Absolutely. Yeah, he needs to win this one. All right, perhaps taking only one was not the way to go. It's still tricky with White creating these passers over here. Let's see how he's going to continue. But I just had a very quick look. I mean, it seems like St. Louis, they could very well do it. I mean, Jules, do you want to go back to the bird's eye view as they seem to be pushing on all of the boards?
Yeah, let's take a look at the bird's eye view.
Right, so in the top left-hand corner, we see that Robbie is up 2 pawns. Pranesh has to keep 2 pairs of rooks on the board. I feel like if Robbie is able to swap off a pair, it should be a very comfortable win. In the meantime, I think Batsurin is winning in the top right-hand corner. His bishop is much more powerful than the knight, and also Black has some targets. And then the big question is Shelov going to get it done? Is Nicolosi going to get it done? It's really going to hinge on those bottom 2 boards.
Right, exactly. Those bottom 2 boards are going to be the most important for this match, and if they're able to come back or even win, it's going to be difficult. And Batsurin has 7 seconds on his clock against 2 minutes and 20 seconds. If you look at some of these time differences here, even with a stellar position, that could be tough to convert. So I definitely think it will hinge on these bottom 2 boards especially.
Yeah, you're right. And oh, what has Shelov just done? And he threw up his hand he also threw up his hand like, what did I just do? Again, he's having a knight on c2, which is trapped. And yeah, again, he's making that hand gesture like, what did I do? Oh. In the meantime, Nicolosi is winning, but Batsurin also still has great chance to win. Robbie is winning. But if Shelov loses, it's all over.
Oh, that would be difficult. And what is up with these knights on c2? I swear, like someone came in and cursed these boards because I don't know why we've had knights on c2 getting trapped in like 4 games so far.
I don't know either. Yeah, I mean, Coach Var Akobian is going to have to talk with his players about that. Like, don't put a knight on c2. It might easily get trapped. Nicolosi's game is still not over in the meantime. White hanging on by a thread. But yeah, again, if Shelov loses, it's all over. So Let's see if he can complicate matters in that one.
He does have a minute to 45 seconds. Not exactly the time difference that he needs, but definitely possible. Maybe there's a rhyme for that one, like knight on c2, never or always blue, or I don't know. Maybe chat can come up with a better one. But we've been coming up with rhymes for all of these throughout the season. I don't know. Do you think Shelf will be able to pull it off? The position seems really rough, but he does have a slight time advantage.
He's a tricky player. It's certainly not impossible, but it's looking tough. In the meantime, Robby showing some great technique on the top board against Pranesh. I think he is about to put on the final touches in that one. And Nicolosi is about to win his game as his rooks come down to the first rank. All right, so it's going to be a win for Nicolosi. It's also a question if Batsurin will get it done. Oh, wait, he just blundered his knight!
No! Oh, and you see his face with 2 seconds on his clock. Oh, poor Betsurin. He is going to be running laps for that. That is so rough. And it happens when you have so little time on his clock, and that's the match. That means SRM is taking the match home with that one blunder in under 2 seconds.
Wow, what a blunder. Yeah. So tough. But it looks like it probably wasn't going to be enough anyway, as Shelov is losing, although you never know. They have both 20 seconds on the clock. Nicolosi gets the win. Robby is up a rook. He's going to get the win. Robby is not moving. He's up a rook, waiting for Pranesh to resign. He just took a sip of water. He's like, dude, yeah, Robby's making a face like, dude, why don't you resign? But yes, tough luck there for Batsurin as he was completely winning all the way through and then hung his bishop.
And you could even look at his teammates' faces, the ones who had finished the game already. And then Robby, as he just won, he just saw the score and also did a little hand gesture. So even with their individual results, losing the match, Slu is not happy, and SRM is probably elated to be the only team so far to have a perfect score.
Right, in the meantime, Shelov's still fighting on. Oh, he is doing fine here. I mean, what a heartbreaking blunder for Batsurin. I mean, if he had not blundered, they might have actually won the match here.
Or even drawn it, yeah. Either one.
Right, because, okay, well, Srihari might be hanging on here, but yeah, tough luck there for Batsurin. It really just completely swung the game around. In the meantime, it looks like this game is going to end in a draw. Black will have a knight and 2 pawns, but it's not enough against the bishop and 1 pawn. But yeah, it doesn't matter for the match anymore. Overall, great performance by the SRM team, but so fortunate for Batsurin. A comeback was really in the making.
And we've also seen a lot of people in chat who are from SRM, so it seems like they do have a very strong campus-wide chess support, which I'm sure is very helpful as well. But yeah, that is heartbreaking for Batsurin, especially seeing this result. I think it's almost worse for him if Chelov manages the draw, because, you know, it's on him, and it was such a small blunder in a completely winning position.
Yeah, no, that was super tough indeed. But it just shows, like, you cannot get down to those final seconds. Really, anything can happen. Bad blunders, yeah, you can easily make them. So you have to manage your time, keep some time on the clock, as yeah, you want to avoid those blunders with little time on the clock.
But we are going to see Shelov fight on, because all the points, even if you lose the match, are important if it comes to tie breaks, which Slu, who we know is rooting to win, is going to have to use those tiebreak points.
In the meantime, I like what Shelov is doing. H5, he now wants to go knight f5 and king f4. Still, this game is not completely over yet. Black is going to try, but it looks really hard for Black to make any progress.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. We've been seeing we have a lot of learning to do about how to hold draws that we're getting from this match.
Yeah, so yeah, this position is a draw, but you know, White is still going to have to defend well, which is never easy with little time on the clock. Shelov trying his best to make inroads on the king side, maybe check on f2, move the knight around, but Srihari is defending well so far.
Do you think there's a lot of pressure on the new Slu players to fill your shoes, Ben?
Absolutely. Yeah, now they've got big shoes to fill, and yeah, that's why they're underperforming, yeah, so far.
Absolutely. You know, just you'll take all the blame for it, you know, it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, but yeah, on a serious note, I don't think necessarily. Yeah, I don't know what it is for Kacharava. I mean, it was a really tough match for him. 1 out of 3 is not a whole lot for a GM on a team like this. So let's hope for him that he'll do better in the next couple of weeks.
But also, if you've taken a look at these games, they've been incredibly sharp, really interesting. It seems like a lot of these players at SRM are just absolutely fantastic at blitz. So sometimes classical ratings don't even come into it that much with these time formats. So maybe that was helpful, but it's definitely true that Slew will need to run a few laps, do what Mizzou did, and come back to win their next match. And SRM is going to be very, very happy going into their next match being undefeated.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, yeah, this match, okay, G5, that's basically a draw for the game is about to end. As, yeah, only the H-pawn is left, but that is certainly not enough to win. So yeah, SRM right now is looking really good to make it to those top 2 spots, lock in their spot for the semifinals. Slew, on the other hand, still has some work to be done. Generally speaking, if you get 6 match wins out of those 7 matches, that will be enough. With 5 out of 7, there's often been a tie. So then, like you've said before, the board points come into play. So yeah, we'll see how Slew will do in the other matches, but it's pretty sure that they're going to make it to the playoffs.
Look at them still pressing this position. I mean, you kind of have to, but yeah, you can already see the defeat in Shalov's face. He knows his team has lost the match, but still trying for those tiebreak points.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, this one is over. White's doing a good job keeping that bishop as far away as possible, so you can never hang it to a fork. But yeah, looking at the SRM team, I think it's really been a team effort from them. I mean, Pranesh didn't even do amazing, 2.5 out of 4. But then board 2 did well, 3 out of 4. Board 3, 2 out of 4 as well. And if your board 4 scores what's going to be 1.5 out of 4, you have good chances to win.
Absolutely. And I think we talked about this last week of Shelov winning the award of most expressive face on any of the cameras. You can just see how upset he is. He's shaking his head, and not even about his own personal game. He was able to hold the draw. Maybe that even makes it more upsetting to be able to hold a draw in a tough position and still not be able to save the match.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, so they're shuffling back and forth, but at some point, the 50 move rule should kick in. Yeah, I feel like for the St. Louis team, it was really the bottom 2 boards that didn't quite deliver today. I mean, Nicolosi scored 1 out of 4. Again, as a GM, he is expected to score more points. Shelov is going to score 1 out of 4 as well. And this game ends in a draw, and the match with that is in the books.
All right, and that means SRM is taking home the match. And you can just see the disappointment on Shelov's face. SRM has a pretty good poker face so far, but I'm sure they're going to be very happy looking at the match, seeing that they are able to have won it. And the final score now is 7 St. Louis, 9 SRM. And if you look at these individual board performances, like exactly what you said, board 3 and board 4 in St. Louis struggled a little bit here. Board 2 in SRM did amazingly with 3 out of 4 points, and Grandmaster Robby Kevlishvili came back from kind of a tough match for the last couple of weeks to score a very impressive 3.5 out of 4 points. How do you think this will determine the rest of the season for both teams, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a long season. Only 3 matches for both teams are in the books. Again, for St. Louis, they are going to make the playoffs. Making the top 2 right now will be a little bit more difficult for SRM. That's looking better now, but they're not there yet by any stretch of the imagination. For St. Louis, yeah, again, some of the players are going to have to step it up. I think there's a good chance we will see these teams face off in the finals, in the playoffs again. And then I'm sure that St. Louis will come out for revenge. So it'll be interesting to see how they'll do later on.
And it seems that we've had some very interesting games. Do you want to show us a game review, Ben?
Absolutely, yeah. Let's have a look at this endgame between Robby Kevlishvili and Pranesh. So here, Pranesh took the pawn on c3, so we see a double rook endgame. Robby having 2 extra pawns on the queen side. He should be winning, but it's never easy to convert this. So for the moment, Black is threatening a checkmate on c1. But Robby displayed great technique here. He played king to g1, tucking his king in g6. And h4, excellent move, trying to chip away at black's king side. King g7, h5, king h6, attacking the rook, but Robby just stepped his rook back to g3. Black can take the pawn on h5, but then the pawn on f7 is going to drop. So Pranesh gave a check, king up, and rook d1, threatening checkmate on h1. But Robby had calculated well, he played rook to h3. Eyeing the king with his h-rook. The king stepped back to g7. And here Robby calculated well again. He played pawn to h6, and this e-pawn simply became unstoppable. Pranesh played king f6. Robby gave a check with e5. The pawn was not captured. King e6 was played. And rook b8. And there's simply nothing you can do about h7 and h8. So great stuff by Robby. Pranesh tried to check, took the rook, but Robby recaptured with the pawn. He's now having double pawns on the h file. But the pawn on h3 is doing a great job making sure that the black rook can never stop the pawn on h6. So rook g1 was played, king f2, rook g5, h7. Robby won the rook, and quickly after that, he won the game. So great stuff by Robby Kevlishvili. He scored 3.5 out of 4 this week, but unfortunately for him, it wasn't enough to bring team victory.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for the game review. We do have another match coming up. We're going to see Athens versus Prague. And I think that will also be very interesting. We didn't get our tie breaks this time, but maybe we'll get them for this next match.
Yeah, who knows? The next match is going to be quite different. This match was about who was going to take the lead in the standings. The next match will determine who will get off 0 points. So that one is going to be interesting as well.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk a little bit about Team Chess Battle. Team Chess Battle heads into semifinals this Tuesday, while Team Pepe and Divis or Anna and Pia Kramling move on to the final. Catch the action on Chess.com streams, complete with mic'd up players on October 15th. Use !TCB in chat or visit go.chess.com/TCB2 to learn more. We are halfway through our Saturday lineup. Make sure you subscribe and hang out with us for the rest of the great chess we've got on tap. We will be back with more right after this.
Do you think your parents like you more than Andrea?
No.
True.
What? Wait.
I think it's because I think we know that both of our parents each have one favorite daughter, and our mom has a favorite and our dad has a favorite. And we know this because we've grilled them.
Okay, we have grilled our parents.
Do you think mom and dad are more proud of you than they are of me?
No.
She's not sure.
Wow. That's fair. Okay.
Do you think you're smarter than Andrea?
No.
I'd be shocked.
True.
I'm flattered. I would have said yes.
Do you think you're a more talented content creator than Andrea?
No.
True.
Do you think I'm a more talented content creator than you?
Lately, yeah.
True, but she's not. She has some thoughts around that.
Is there any content that Andrea does that you don't like?
Yes.
I'm sure half of our content she doesn't like. I think we both feel that way. Ooh. Have you hooked up with more or less than 5 chess players?
Define hooking up.
Ladies, Dina, I'll let you define hooking up.
The infiltration.
No.
That's where we decided. Really, Dina? That was what you got? Oh, God. Okay, I have another one. Is there any chess player you'd consider dating?
Probably not.
Lie.
Would you consider dating Magnus Carlsen?
Jesus.
I had a crush on him when I was a teen, so I think that's gonna cause confusion. Right now, of course, no.
So you had a crush on him?
Of course.
True.
You were attracted by intellect?
Yes, I'm very sapiosexual.
True. Very true.
I know.
I'm Jules Gambit, this is Benjamin Bach. We are having a great time. Bach, what's your thoughts about that SLU performance against SRM?
Yeah, no, a bit of an upset there, perhaps. Slew the back-to-back-to-back defending champions. But SRM, also a strong team, they definitely deserve to win. And I'm curious to see what we will see in the next matchup.
As we get ready for our next match, let's take a look at how our sponsor Susquehanna feels about gaming and how it gives their employees an upper hand in various situations.
My name is Ella Papanek, and I'm a quantitative sports trader here at SIG. I started playing chess when I was 8 years old. My brother taught me, and I grew up very close to Union Square Park and Washington Square Park in New York City, and so I used to go and play with the people there in the parks. Chess players are very good decision makers. They're constantly reasoning about the hypothetical paths that the game could take. They're also very good at thinking about what their opponent is thinking and integrating that into their decision-making process.
My name is Jerry Yang. I'm a macro analyst here at SIG. I discovered chess pretty much after watching Queen's Gambit. I was like, this is an awesome game. The strategy and the calculation is really what I think makes the game beautiful, where every time you're asking yourself that question of, hey, I'm making this move, and what possible moves might they do in response? And then zooming back out to yourself, I think is really like what makes chess a wonderful game.
In chess, you often face situations where you have to make decisions under time pressure, and so you're not going to be able to realistically assess all of the options, but you still have to think through what matters and what doesn't matter and make a decision off of that, which is a common thing that I have to do in trading.
I do use that reciprocal thinking on my day-to-day, where I'm asking myself that question of, hey, what are other people going to do in stock markets and other markets, etc. I need to be extremely cognizant of all of these other pieces on the metaphorical chessboard in order to distill that into one, hey, like this is the driving narrative, this is what's going to happen, and this is what's important for trading.
My name is Jonathan Susquehanna, and I am on the trader education team here at SIG. So on the first one, right, it comes out of here, and if you want to do, are you doing the 6 case?
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time building curriculum and lecturing along with doing some interviews for our newer and prospective candidates. I am kind of giving them the rundown of the basics of both the business and options education, and I use both lecture format and board games to accomplish this. So you would remove one if you had one, but instead we just get points equal to the numbers in our hand. The idea of using board games kind of started off with how the company was founded, using poker and poker principles. I'm able to kind of form a plan of just using board games to allow people to experience a lot of different situations and help them express themselves and guide them through those sorts of processes. So instead of just keeping them in the option space to get them better at options, you can kind of work on very focused efforts if you choose the right board game. While as a part of the education process, we're using poker kind of as a tool for education, and also in terms of socialization, there's kind of one big opportunity every year for people to compete in a free poker tournament at SIG. Whether or not it's your first game of poker or you're a seasoned veteran, everyone has kind of an equal starting point, equal footing, but you see a lot of nice camaraderie. I participate in every year, both take my stab at those top prizes, along with getting to meet some coworkers that I wouldn't have met otherwise.
I think gaming is such an essential part of SIG culture because gamers are often people who have a sense of grit, who are passionate but also persistent, and they'll take the same thing over and over and over and iterate it over and over and over to get better and better.
Playing games, doing puzzles, doing math problems is all a very core part of the culture. So it felt very natural for me because that was something I had been thinking about throughout most of my life. And so it was cool to kind of meet a community of people where asking those questions was very natural and people wanted to reason through those kinds of things with me.
SIG is a fantastic opportunity, whether you're a gamer, whether you just have a lot of entrepreneurial spirit, as long as you are ready to be in an environment that kind of sees you for who you are, helps get you to the place you want to be, and really just care about your growth and development while having a great community, SIG is the place for you.
Make sure you drop a sub because when you do, you get to watch some exclusive content like how the GMs you love to watch handle mean tweets. We will be back with Athens versus Prague right after this break.
Students, did you know that you can get a discount on any Chess.com premium membership? If you're enrolled in a college, university, or high school in a participating country, you can get 50% off any yearly or monthly premium plan. Diamond, Platinum, or Gold. That's unlimited game review, unlimited puzzles, unlimited bots, unlimited lessons, and no ads. All at 50% off. Go to chess.com/students and get your discount today.
The decoration looks like an Indian wedding. I know it's from the tweet of the playing hall actually here. So I made put a picture. Actually, it was a very good tweet, but I think it was a very underrated tweet of mine. But okay, fine. And they said the decoration looks like an Indian wedding. Okay, it's a sensitive topic here, so let's just move on. Anish is leaking chats. Be aware of him.
I think you have to be aware.
No, this like they're trying.
The things you have told me on chat.
No, okay, I've been a good boy ever since. I know now that like everything can leak at any moment. So I'm just being. Always being very good. But I think this is like one of those when, they're trying to send the message, like blink twice kind of thing, that somebody's trying to rescue you. And they're sending you this message through this setting, like, be aware of him.
I'm sorry to be the one to tell you, but you don't look very good in this highly anticipated selfie.
Just like my brother, not really funny jokes, but take your like. Joking, they are a little funny.
Just kidding, by the way, not joking.
Ah, just kidding.
Just kidding.
Oh, well, my whole life I thought JK means joking. Oh, snap. I have to rethink now all these my entire like life, all the conversations I had online when people say JK.
Because just kidding has a better vibe than
I thought it's
joking.
like joking. Why did I think it was joking? Just kidding.
I think next segment should be you knowing the Gen Z terms.
True.
You have 3 kids who are Gen Z.
Yeah.
So
well, LOL.
that's
LMFAO.
that's millennial.
ROFL.
No, that's in 90s.
Okay, I'm boomer. Fine. You got raised though. Is that a modern thing or not?
Yeah, but it's not
But
contextual.
It's not true. Yeah, that's the problem. Bro tweets so much, it's hard to find mean tweets from the past. At Chess.com. Okay, that's funny. Okay, that's funny. Well done you.
Yeah, it seemed like all the mean tweets from yesterday.
It was. At some point I realized the lazy guys, you just scrolling my yesterday's feed.
Yes, exactly.
It was all from yesterday.
Exactly, it could have been like...
True. No, you have to keep scrolling. Okay. No, good stuff. Yeah, I didn't have much time to prepare for this, huh?
We're about to find out, honey. We just got started, so I'll let you know.
Still an opportunity with a minute to play.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Collegiate Chess League's 2024 fall season brought to us by our sponsor Susquehanna. We're happy to have you. We just saw a crazy match between SLU and SRM, and right now we're about to check out Athens versus Prague, which are 2 teams that have been having kind of a rough season. What do you think, Ben?
For sure, yeah. So I feel like Athens should be the slight favorite in this one, but it's going to be a close one. Like you said, both teams are 0-2. They've lost the first 2 matches, so it will be nice for them to get a win here and still keep themselves in a race for the playoffs. You only need to make top 6. A loss for either team might make it very tough to make it to the playoffs. So we'll see who's going to win this one.
So this is a very important match for both of them, and they're both fairly strong teams as well. Both teams are from Europe, so there's a little bit of a European rivalry there. We'll take a look at these board assignments. In first board, Athens has IM Demetrius Alexis, FM Ioannis Kalogeris, FM Valisilios, and Konstantinos. For board 4, Prague has IM Jan, FM Martin Holland, FM Richard Maladik, and FM Andres Svanda for board 4. And it seems like both teams are pretty evenly matched here looking at the ratings.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be a close one. Hard to say who will win. Yeah, really seems like a coin flip to me. Maybe I'd give the slight edge to the Athens team. But if you look at the titles, I mean, both teams have an IM on board 1, then FM's on board 2 and 3. Prague has an FM on board 4, and Athens has an entitled player, but looks very evenly matched. And the games have already gone underway.
Oh, we keep seeing this opening, this ready opening here from white.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, players like playing it because they keep a lot of play in a position. You just go knight f3, g3, bishop g2, and then you think what to do after. And we see Dimitri is going for the very original knight to h6. Perhaps he wants to move his knight to f5, making it very difficult for white to ever go d4. And sometimes h4, h5 is an idea after that as well.
Yeah, it is kind of an interesting position here. It looks like almost a, is this, sorry, a symmetrical English kind of looking position? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, the game has transposed into a symmetrical English. So we'll see how this is going to continue. And yeah, we see actually white going for a very typical plan with a3 and rook b1, aiming to go b4 and gain space on the queen side. So we'll see how that is going to play out. On board 2, we see a double fianchetto by with Richard having the white pieces and Colagiris having the black pieces. And on board 3, we see a Wiener with an early bishop a5, which can be a little bit risky. And Vasilios, he's having his hand in his head in his hand. I think he's just trying to recollect the theory.
I mean, you say they didn't really prepare for these games at the early matches, and that means you kind of just have to play whatever you remember, so it can be difficult.
Right. So let's see how these matches are going to progress. He went for queen g4 and d takes c5. Yeah, the line again that Martin Holland is going for is quite risky. So we'll see how he's gonna continue here. Board number 4 has lifted off as well, and we see a Najdorf in the bottom right-hand corner.
I always love these Najdorf games because they're exceptionally sharp, especially if we're gonna get like some sort of f3 opposite side castling here. I think that'll be really interesting. Do you have any predictions on that one?
We'll see, but Jules, I think we should go to board number 2 as some interesting things are happening there. I don't know what just happened. Black played the move knight to c6, but I think this just hung the pawn on e4. I don't know what Jonas had in mind, but after knight takes e4, I don't see a move for black. If you capture the pawn, white just takes with the queen. That's an extra pawn. So big miss there for Richard. Instead, he goes d5. Also looking quite promising, breaking in the center. And Jules, would you mind introducing our third commentator of today?
Yes, how rude of me. This is our co-commentator. This is Squeak here, and Squeak is the bird of Andrea and Alex. I am currently bird sitting, and he was getting a little squeaky, so I thought he wanted to come over, and he's enjoying the chess as well. He's a very strong chess player. He's an international master, but has 2 of his norms right here, so he'll be feeding us moves through the earpiece.
Nice. Yeah. No, Squeak definitely. He probably has some chirps to say about the players here. Anyway, queen b3 by white on the board, hitting the knight on b4. Very interesting position here. Lots of tension. It'll be interesting to see who will handle the complications better. Let's see what Jonas is gonna do here. It looks a little tricky for black. Knight a6. Maybe now white can take an e4 followed by knight to g5.
That knight is just very misplaced on a6. It's going to try to get into c5. And then maybe with the queen on b3, it will take a few moves to kick that knight out.
Right. Yeah, once the knight lands on c5, I guess white might go something like queen a3 followed by b4. Anyway, we have white taking on e4 followed by knight to g5, hitting that pawn on e4. So let's see how this game is going to progress. Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Anyway, Jules, do you want to go back to the bird's eye view and let's have a look at what's happening at the other boards?
Yeah, bird's eye view. Get it? Let's do it.
No, yes, let's go back to the Squeak's eye view. All right, so we see on board 1, white has just moved their knight into d5. It's also looking pretty good for Vasilios in the bottom left-hand corner. I feel like black is taking a bit too much risk in that Wiener, and I also like how the Greek team is doing in the bottom right-hand corner, as white has managed to get the bishop pair in that one.
Yeah, it is a very interesting position. We're getting some sharp games here.
Right. Okay, so in the meantime, in Richard's game, black has captured that pawn on d5, so we'll see how that one will play out. 96. Yeah, but overall, I like the chances of the Greek team. I feel like Athens is better on board 1, board 3, and board 4. So in the top left-hand corner, the bottom left-hand corner, and the bottom right-hand corner. And oh, look at this move by Konstantinos. I really like what he has just done. Do you want to have a quick look at that one, Jules?
Absolutely, let's take a look. And you know, if you're saying that Athens has the best chances, I'm gonna vote Team Prague. So we have some evenness here. I don't know. I think the ratings are all very evenly matched. It's still the first round, but what's going on in this game?
Yeah, so some really nice stuff here by Konstantinos in this position right here. White is the bishop pair, but he did a great job. C4, breaking open the position. Black took, and now rook to C1, pinning the pawn. Therefore, black cannot take the knight. All right, so, wow, knight b6. White giving up the bishop pair here, which is a bit of a pity. Maybe white is still better, but if black is able to go bishop b7 and castle, it might not be much. Black goes g6 instead. I feel like that's a little bit too slow. Maybe white can quickly go queen a5, trade off the queens, and pick up the a6 pawn quickly.
And you would rather do that than, say, prepare g4?
Yeah, because I feel like g4 is only going to help black. If black would take, open up the h file for his rook. It's going to be hard for white to ever start an attack on the king side. So somewhat counterintuitively, white often ends up playing on the queen side in these types of positions, as they have more space on that side of the board.
That is interesting, and that's probably what he's considering now. It's 3 minutes 40 seconds against 2 minutes, so there is quite a time difference right off the bat. We saw a bunch of games get decided by time difference.
And
right, here we go. We have it, the queen trade.
Yeah, queen f5, excellent move by Konstantinos. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. Time is a big factor in these matchups. Yeah, there's only a 2-second increment. We've seen some devastating blunders happen with the final seconds ticking down. So you want to put pressure on the board. You also want to put pressure on the clock. That's usually a recipe for success. So I like how Konstantinos is doing here. Jules, do you want to go back to the Squeak's eye view and see what's happening on the other boards?
Yes, absolutely. Squeak just bit my hair, which I think he's trying to say he wants to see more games.
All right. Okay, so yeah, again, things are looking good for the Athens team. We see in the bottom left-hand corner, Vasilios is down a pawn, but he's got a great bishop pair to work with. The king on f8 is a little bit stuck. Therefore, the rook on h8 is also stuck. So I think he's got great chances there. Konstantinos doing well in the bottom right-hand corner. Yeah, I feel like Athens is going to take the lead here going out of the first round.
It's definitely possible. And looking at this game in board 1, it looks very aggressive. Like there's a lot of life in it. White has that nice outpost, but then look at those very scary rooks on the f-file.
Yep. Indeed, yeah. Dimitris doubled up his rooks on the f-file, eyeing the f2 point, but it's for the moment nicely defended by the bishop on e1. I like what he's doing now as well with the move bishop c8, aiming maybe to go queen h3, followed by bishop g4 at the right moment, dive into white's king side. All right, so Jules, is there another game that is catching your attention that you want to go to?
Well, not a game, but the clock in that game, just to point out, is 18 seconds versus 2 minutes and 30 seconds, so that is quite the time difference. The French game is a little bit interesting, Vasilios, his game there. It looks like there should be some sort of attack for white. I see this h4 push is pretty normal there, but where exactly is the attack?
Yeah, I like what he's doing. He's just slowly building up the attack. h5, h6, pretty typical stuff. And now a4, another excellent move. Opening up the a3 square for his bishop. He's aiming to go bishop a3, maybe bishop d6. Again, black is up a pawn, but it's really hard for black to move here. Again, the king on f8 is stuck, the rook on h8 is stuck. So I think Vasilios is playing a great game here. But yeah, do you want to go to that game between Alexakis and Andre to see how Andre will do in the time pressure?
Absolutely. Let's check it out. Yeah, I don't know. The time pressure is very, very difficult. As we've seen, winning games are lost when they get under 5 seconds. And here it's 15 seconds to 1 minute, 47 seconds. Okay, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's a big time deficit, and there goes the pawn on e4. Black is learning stuff like bishop to h3. Really tough here for white with 12 seconds. So I think Dimitris is going to take the first game of the match. He is the board 1 for the Athens team, and when you're playing the board 4, your job is simply to get a point on the scoreboard. I mean, doesn't matter how, you have to win if you play the board 4, and it looks like he's doing that right here.
And it's very interesting because that knight looks amazing on that outpost, but right now these bishops are dominating the board. Ah, there you go, piece lost.
Yeah, great stuff by Dimitris. He opens up the score for the Athens team, taking an early lead for them. All right, so let's go back to the bird's eye view and see what's happening on the other boards. On the other boards, Athens is also doing amazing. Right now, it looks like they're winning on board 4, as white is a very powerful d-pawn. Let's see how maybe bishop b5, threatening d7. I don't see what black is doing there, to be honest. But b3 should keep a big chunk of the advantage as well.
And also, the times are ticking low for pretty much everyone on the board. Seems like these complicated positions, you really have to use what you can. I want to point out, it seems like we have a lot of Richard fans in the chat. I guess his friends came to check out some of the games, and it looks like he's doing decently, especially with time there in that game.
Yeah, it's great to see so many schools representing in the chat. So yeah, big shout out to Richard's fans. I don't know if we also have some Athens fans in the chat, or maybe we had some St. Louis fans in the chat earlier. Overall, things are looking good for Greece. I mean, they're slightly worse in the top right-hand corner, but on the other boards, they're doing amazing. I feel like, wow, Vasilios is really putting on a masterpiece. Not only had he sacrificed the pawn earlier, he has now also sacrificed the exchange, but look at his attack.
That is a very nice attack. And, there's a lot of reasons someone would want to win CCL. You get the pride, it's great for your team, but you could also put it in your Tinder or Instagram bio. So, there's a lot at stake here. And I'm sure all of the players are really feeling it. As you've said before, both of these teams do not have a point yet in the season. They have not won a match yet. So, I don't know. It could be the turnaround that one of these teams needs.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think this match is pretty important for both teams to get on the scoreboard, give themselves the chance to still qualify for the playoffs. All right, so we saw knight g6. Vasilios getting a long time here. He seems a little hesitant moving the knight back and forth. It looks great for white, but I don't quite see a knockout punch yet. And oh, he dropped the pawn on b5, but black missed it.
Whoa. 7 seconds each player. Look at that eval bar. It's going absolutely insane. Oh, don't flag. Did he flag?
Yeah. Oh, and look at Martin's reaction. I guess he forgot about the clock for a second. And yeah, you see him shaking his head. He's like, I think he forgot about the clock. Yeah, he's smiling. Anyway,
it happens.
Konstantinos is winning in the meantime, but still some work to be done. Not so easy to break through black's defenses. And let's see if Richard can score a point for Prague in the top right-hand corner.
It does look like he has a very active king here. Opposite colored bishops tend to be a little bit more drawish, but still a lot of pieces on the board.
Yeah, no, overall looking very good for white, but still difficult to break through. I guess maybe king e6, and then go rook takes d7, followed by king e7 at the right moment. He goes rook f8. Okay, he seems a little... Okay, king e6, king up. And that should... No, wait. He just walked into a threefold. And look at his reaction. He's like, he forgot about it.
Oh no. And it happens. It happens way more often than people think, especially when it's a position. So threefold repetition doesn't just have to be the moves. If you're in the same position 3 times, you can definitely forget how you started. I know I've done it by accident. I think Hans Niemann in the last Champions Chess Tour accidentally lost with threefold repetition in a winning position. It really, really is easy. And you can see he's a little upset. Do you think that will tilt him?
Perhaps, but yeah, Jules, they were just going back and forth, so I don't know how he forgot about it. Like you said, you might forget that it's the same position, but look at this here. He literally went rook f8, rook g8, rook f8, rook g8, rook f8. So it's a very clear threefold. So I'm shocked that he walked right into that. Anyway, let's move on to our last game of the match. We have Richard Mladek. If he wins this game, it will be a bit of a close match still. Then Athens will only take a 1-point lead. But I like what Jonas is doing. This d-pawn is pushing down the board. So I like Black's chances here a lot.
I guess the idea is to either trade off a rook, promote the pawn. But how
Just
do you
push the
make
pawn, yeah.
progress? Yeah.
Just push the pawn. D2, yeah, just push
Yeah,
the
okay,
pawn.
there you go.
Just push the pawn. Bishop d6 was not the right move. Now, okay, rook f5, nice check, forcing the king away. And now king c3 maybe, or is that? I feel like black should still
C3
win
makes
this one.
sense.
Rook h8, going after the h-pawn, take rook g6. Yep, Jonas doing a great job here. A win would go a long way for Athens. I mean, then they would be up by 3. So let's see if he can get it. Oh, bishop c5. That's the game. Yep, this one is about to be over.
And you can see that is a tough start for Prague. That means I believe it'll be 3.5 to 0.5.
Yeah, it's only the first round, so not over yet. But Prague has a tough task ahead of them. Rook d6, trading into a winning king and pawn game. And you see Jonas relaxes. He knows it's all over now.
And you know that is not the start you want to start your match. I know it's only round 1, so you're right. There's so much life. But when you have two teams that are very close rating-wise, I think having to come back after round 1 is not the situation you want to put yourself into.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Yeah, you never can expect you never know what to expect from these matches, especially because it looks like these two are pretty evenly matched. So again, getting off with a good start is definitely great. So 3.5 out of 3.5 against half. The Athens team must be feeling pretty good now.
And let's take a little look at the players' performance for this round.
Yeah, all right, so we have it right here. The Athens players, they won on the top 3 boards. Konstantinos drew on the last board, but he also could have won, and that would have meant a clean sweep. So perhaps he might be a little bit disappointed, but he might have looked over how his teammates did, and right now he cannot be too unhappy as they're leading by 3 points.
Absolutely, and this is not like it's a team that's unevenly matched. It seems like pretty much all of the boards have pretty much the same rating, so this should be a lot closer. Maybe we'll see Prague making a comeback, or maybe this first round will have tilted them a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's definitely still potential for a comeback, but they're gonna have to cut into that deficit sooner rather than later. Because let's say they lose the second round as well, and then after the third round, it might already be over. So I think it will be nice for them to win the second round by at least a point or maybe 2, cut into that deficit, and keep the match closer as we go into the second half.
And hopefully we can see some interesting games. I wonder if it will affect their play, if they'll try to play a little sharper. I'm not sure. But we're going to see boards 1 against boards 3, boards 2 against boards 4. So I don't know, anything could happen, and the games are going to start shortly. Do you think we'll see more aggressive openings, or just something very solid from Prague?
I mean, they're gonna have to strike back, but I think they're just gonna stick to their style. So whatever fits them best is what they will play. We'll see how Andre will do. Andre with the black pieces on board 2. He got under in a lot of time pressure, so he's gonna have to speed it up a little bit. Anyway, the first game has started, and White going for a very early f3 with that avoiding the knight of potentially. Black going for e5 anyway, and we see knight b3. a5, I think c4 here is the move, but White goes a4, also looks good.
Is there a name for this variation? It doesn't look like a Najdorf.
I don't know. I call this the anti-Najdorf with 5 f3, but let's see. Apparently it's called the Prince variation. The Prince variation.
Okay, that is much better than the anti-Najdorf with f3. It's a little bit wordy, you know, you need something you can put on a shirt.
And I'm honestly a little bit embarrassed because Prince, he was actually a Dutch chess player, so I should know, but he might have invented this variation. We see White going for a very early check on b5, knight c6 to block, and now White grabbing a lot of space. He goes c4, clamping down on the d5 square, also solidifying that bishop. I like what Dimitri is doing here.
If you wanted to free your bishop, eventually would you go for that c5 push?
Perhaps, yeah, but I think for the moment, white is going to keep it nicely anchored in. It is defending the pawn on c4 as well. Black is also a little bit stuck. It's not going to be as easy for black to go for an active plan. Knight b4 makes sense. But I feel like what white's going to do is white's going to castle, queen d2, move a rook to d1, and maybe knight d5 at the right moment.
Yeah,
I feel like
knight
for the
d5
moment
makes
he's
a lot
going
of
to...
sense.
Right, yeah. I think for the moment he's going to keep that bishop there.
And we do see that castle. Ben Feingold would be very upset with that f3 there.
Yeah, indeed. But it's a valid variation. It definitely has some venom to it. Knight h5 played by black, queen e2, good move. Aiming to go rook d1 and also making it impossible for black to go bishop g5 now.
Probably also preventing knight f4. But I don't know, maybe the knight can go into d5 now.
Yeah, absolutely. As the pawn on c4 is under attack, so knight e5 makes a ton of sense. Taking with the knight doesn't look appealing. White's going to recapture with the pawn, and then a5 starts hanging. So I think black should take with the bishop, and that's what he does. If you take with the c-pawn, there might have been knight c2, so understandably he takes with the e-pawn. But this gives black more of a free hand on the king side with f5.
By the way, there is a prediction in chat about this game, so what do you guys think in chat? Who do you think is going to take this game? And if you have an opinion, put your channel points where your mouth is and go make that prediction. So I don't know. It does seem like we have a lot of Richard fans in the chat for sure. But this position does look very double-edged.
For sure, yeah. I mean, white does have the bishop pair, so that is an asset for white. But white's queenside majority is a little bit blocked. It's going to be difficult to go c5, as that is blocked for the moment. Maybe black can go b6 to completely block it. Let's see what's going to happen. In the meantime, black is starting to advance on the king side, so really anything can happen in this one. Jules, do you want to go back to the bird's eye view to see what's happening in the other games?
Yeah, we can go back to Squeak's eye view. By the way, Ben, how many channel points do you have for Chess.com?
I have a lot. Let me see. I have 1M. How many do you have?
1M? Do I even have... Oh, I should have... Let's see. 20K. I am not as cool as you.
Well, I
feel embarrassed.
Oh, no worries. I was able to stack up a lot of channel points because last season, I would always go all in on Slew. We would win, and I would double up my channel points. So, yeah, that's how I managed to get them very quickly.
You bet on what you were commentating?
No, I bet on myself as a player. I knew, like, hey, we're going to win, so I'm just going to go all in with my channel points, and that's how I kept doubling up. Yep.
Oh my gosh, you bet your channel points on yourself. That is the funniest thing I've ever heard, and that's how you accumulated all of these points. I guess that is a strategy for people in the chat. I mean, just if you're playing a game here, make sure to bet on yourself, and you too will have 1 million channel points. They should have like a special reward just for 1 million channel points on Chess.com.
They should, yeah, they should. But yeah, I mean, you got to believe in yourself that you're going to win. So yeah, no, that's why I always bet the points on myself. Anyway, let's see what's happening in all of the games. I like what Alexakis is doing. I didn't like the move knight f4 at all by Richard. Is now white is getting access to the juicy e6 square. I feel like a board where Prague might score is maybe in the bottom left-hand corner. I feel like Jan is doing pretty good stuff against Vasilios. And yeah, let's see where else Athens can get on the scoreboard. Maybe the board's on the right-hand side.
Yeah, that board still has a lot of potential there, although the game is a little bit slower. And yeah, I actually do really love the position with the Cagliaris game, because I feel like it's always a lot of fun to play in these positions with those pawns where the king side is a little bit isolated from the rest of the pieces. Black is trying to open it up. You're trying to deliver that checkmate. It's about who can get there first. But it does look like black's got pretty good chances there.
Absolutely, but I like the move Andre just played. He took an f3, now took an g5. I don't know, it feels like white is getting quite a few weaknesses, maybe... Okay, if he takes on g5, white can take the pawn on d6, so really anything can still happen there. So yeah, again, I feel like Prague has to cut into that deficit sooner rather than later, so maybe they can do it in this round.
Well, they need to do it in this round. If they go into next round, round 3, still having to get back a lot of points, they could end up being in the 4th or 3rd round having to get like a perfect score. And as we've seen, that is very difficult. Even though SLU came close, they were not able to do it last round. So that is not the position Prague wants to be in. But it's still round 2. Anything could happen here. I really like the game between Jan here at the bottom left hand too. This looks very interesting.
Yeah, I like what he's doing as well. Only one pawn trade took place, but other than that, all of the pieces are still on the board. He's just moved his knight into d6. I feel like for black, it's not going to be as easy to do something in the center or maybe on the king side, whereas white potentially has the plan to go b4 and break everything open on the queen side. Rook df8 was just played. I think you're just going to have to move your bishop back to g3 to keep supporting that e5 pawn.
And this might be one of those situations where the king is safer uncastled than castled, although it is very tempting to do some sort of queenside castle. But if we do want to push b4, it might be better just to plant the king on like d2 or something, c2.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's a question where white's going to put their king. It feels like the king cannot stay in the center forever, but for now, I think it's fine. And wow, look at this. Rook takes f3. Black setting the board on fire, but the computer doesn't seem to agree with it.
What is the idea behind that?
To take an e5, but I don't know. It doesn't see... I mean, you're still in all of these pins. I don't think this really works.
I mean, yeah, maybe they just want to open it up, take advantage of that king there in the center.
Knight b5 here looks really strong, hitting the queen. If the queen steps back, you take the bishop. I think black is forced to take on g3, but that looks lost. So knight b5 to me looks like a knockout punch. Jan is taking his time. I'm sure he's looking at it.
Well, I mean, that's a really nice intermediate move. You don't always have to take back. That's something I struggle with sometimes. But here, yeah, this is going to be really tough. The queen has nowhere good to go.
He goes to d8, but okay, now bishop takes c6 looks crushing. Because in case the bishop takes, yeah, and it's on the board, you take an e5. And if black takes on g3, you take on b7, and you're up a full rook. Yeah, Jan looking locked in. I think he's going to take this one for his team. And yeah, it looks like the Prague team is fighting back in this round.
Well, they need to, absolutely. And that's a great win for Jan there. I bet he's going to be very happy with that. I do think this is a good chance for a tiebreak. I really want my tiebreak here, Ben.
Well, 3 points is still a lot. Great win there for Jan. But let's go back to the squeak's eye view to see what's happening on the other boards. As Jules, one board is looking quite concerning for Prague. The board in the top right-hand corner. As look at that pawn on d6. That is causing black a lot of headache.
That's definitely something. That is not a pawn you want there. Okay. Oh, wow. Even looking at it for more than 5 seconds just makes it get worse and worse the more you look at it. But yeah, that pawn's going to d7, and then you have all these issues with back rank. Oh, I don't really know how you're gonna get around this. What would be your immediate follow-up?
For black, I don't know. I don't see a move. The knight is under attack. There's no good way to defend it. And if you move the knight, you always hang your queen. And if you take over here, that pass pawn only becomes stronger. So I think Jonas has this one in the back. He's looking pretty relaxed, pretty focused. In the meantime, Andre's time is ticking down. I think Athens is going to get a point here.
Absolutely, which is a little bit tough for Prague, who does need some points to come back. And so far, I believe it's 3.5 to 1.5 Prague.
Yep. No, Athens is still up by 2 points. So this one would give them the 3-point lead again. Athens is also winning on another board. Yeah, maybe on the last board, Prague can get a team, but it's not looking good for them. If Athens gets a win again, the match might just slip away from Prague before we know it.
Do we want to check out Bird's Eye View?
Absolutely. Yep. Let's have a look. As it looks like white has this one in the back. Looks like white also has it in the back in the top left-hand corner. Look at those 3 connected passers on the queen side. They're just marching down the board. In the meantime, white is about to win in Jonas' game. The board where Athens can potentially score a point is in the bottom right-hand corner. They really have to keep this match close.
Yeah, they really do need that point. It's going to be very important for them coming up as well. But yeah, I don't know. Richard looks like he's struggling a little bit there. I know there were some channel points bet on that game.
Oh, I should have bet my channel points as well. But yeah, Dimitri's great technique there. You can now just take the pawn on d5. Black simply cannot get rid of those passed pawns on the queen side. Now he can walk his own king up. And eventually Black's position is going to collapse. So Dimitri's doing his job. As the board one, you have to get points on the board. And that is what he's doing here.
Yep, that's exactly what he needs to be doing. And it looks like Athens is going to retain their lead. Prague is going to be going into round 3, having to win back a lot of points, pretty much having to shut out Athens to have a chance.
Yeah, but this Athens team is looking pretty strong, so I don't really see it happening, but you never know. In the meantime, in the bottom right-hand corner, I feel like Athens is also a little bit better. Black has pressure on the pawn on e3. Still, this game can really go either way, as both players are getting low on time.
No, absolutely. Both players are getting very low on time, 23 seconds to 30 seconds. And especially last match, we saw actually the deciding match was decided by low time. So it happens a lot in these kinds of time controls, 5+2.
Absolutely. I like what Konstantinos is doing here. Queen c3, diving into white's position, hitting the pawn on d3. White trades off the bishop for the knight and goes d4. Black can take on d4, take on... Oh, wait. White can still recapture with the rook. I thought for whatever reason there was another rook on e8. Now there is. Still pressure on white as this e3 pawn remains weak.
Also, it's important to point out that Martin is in fact the team captain for Prague, so he might feel a little bit of pressure in this game, maybe just supporting his team. And it looks a little difficult with these rooks making progress, having to defend that pawn on e3.
All right, rook d8 to d3. Great maneuvering here by Konstantinos. a5, a4. He's really putting on a masterclass here, but Martin is fighting back. Queen e5 perhaps now. In the meantime, Dimitris has won his game as well. So right now, Athens is looking at a 4-point lead.
A 4-point lead. Yeah, that is a huge lead. Wow, I bet Prague can't be really happy about this one, coming in with a lead like that.
Absolutely not. Yeah, and I don't like that move by Konstantinos. I think he should have gone rook d4 earlier. Now white gets the rook behind the passed pawn. Still should just be a draw. But you never know. If white can get active with the king, maybe white also has chances to get the win here.
That would be interesting. With 14 seconds against 25 seconds, it is still low time for both parties. Especially in these kind of end games, anything could happen when you get so close to under 5 seconds.
I don't like the decision by black to take the pawn on a6. I think he should have gone king back. Now white is pushing for the win. Rook b6, the pawn on c6 drops. This is an unpleasant endgame. Rook g7, I think, is forced to defend that g6 pawn, but the king on a5 is now looking... Oh, wait, what?
He traded?
G5.
What? No way.
Well, that is the bit of luck that Prague needs. Now he's in a completely winning king and pawn in game, as black is never enough. Just king, pick up the pawn. Right, just take the pawn, king out of the way, and that's it.
And it's over. And this is actually a draw. If the black king was able to go to h8, it is not. Look, he's just so surprised.
Yeah, surprised, happy. He keeps his team in the match for now, cuts the deficit into 3 points. But yeah, Konstantinos not happy with that loss. He had the opportunity to take a draw. He also had a chance for the win earlier. Certainly should not have lost. But it's still a match, as 3 points is still surmountable.
It is a big lead. We're going to go to the player performances and take a look.
Yeah, so here we see that Athens is doing a pretty good job on the top 2 boards. Both their players are on 2 out of 2. Vasily is doing alright on board 3, 1 out of 2, and their board 4 is on half out of 2. But the Prague team is gonna have to step it up, especially on boards 3 and 4. They have no points yet. Fortunately for them, I think they're gonna be playing the bottom 2 boards of the Athens team, so maybe they'll have a chance there to get on the scoreboard.
And they'll need it, absolutely, because it is gonna have to be an amazing match for Prague to be able to come back, tie the score. We will see with round 3 coming up soon.
Yeah, so let's have a look at a game from the previous round as some crazy things happened. Konstantinos was playing a great game, and I really like the move he found here. His queen was under attack, but instead of moving it, he played rook d takes e3, sacrificing the queen. White took it, but his idea was to take the rook and e1, and now rook e2, winning the queen back. Alright, so White played rook d3, we saw the trade. And here Black really had to play the move rook d4, stopping the rook from becoming active. But instead he went a4, White took the pawn, Black took c4, and now rook to a3, and White is ready to push that a pawn off the board. Alright, so Black played rook d4, bring the rook back to defend. White activated his king, Black activated their king. c4, check, king c7, rook a3, king b6, rook b3, and here Black just had to take the draw with the move king to c7, but he went for more with the move king takes a6, but now White took the pawn on c5, and now it feels a little bit tricky. Black is up a pawn, but this king on a6 is shot out of the game. He played rook c7, now came a check, White picked up the pawn on c6, and now White is pushing for the win. Rook g7 here was absolutely the only move defending the pawn on g6, but he traded off the rooks, banking on g5 to create a passer, but White just goes king d5. Bring the king back. Black is not in time to create a passer, so Black played king here, king e5, and Black is just nowhere near in time. White picked up the pawn on h6, moved their king out of the way, and the h-pawn will decide the game. So up and down game, but Martin keeps his team in the match.
Thank you so much, Ben, for the game review. Can Prague make a comeback with the last 2 rounds, or will Athens close the door and take their first victory of the season? We've got a lot of chess left. Make sure you hang around. We will be right back after this.
And I'm a quantitative sports trader here at SIG. I started playing chess when I was 8 years old. My brother taught me, and I grew up very close to Union Square Park in Washington Square Park in New York City, and so I used to go and play with the people there in the parks. Chess players are very good decision makers. They're constantly reasoning about the hypothetical paths that the game could take. They're also very good at thinking about what their opponent is thinking and integrating that into their decision-making process.
My name is Jerry Yang, and I'm a macro analyst here at SIG. I discovered chess pretty much after watching Queen's Gambit. I was like, this is an awesome game. The strategy and the calculation is really what I think makes the game beautiful, where every time you're asking yourself that question of, hey, I'm making this move, and what possible moves might they do in response? And then zooming back out to yourself, I think is really like what makes chess a wonderful game.
In chess, you often face situations where you have to make decisions under time pressure, and so you're not going to be able to realistically assess all of the options, but you still have to think through what matters and what doesn't matter and make a decision off of that, which is a common thing that I have to do in trading.
I do use that reciprocal thinking on my day-to-day, where I'm asking myself that question of, hey, what are other people going to do in stock markets and other markets, etc. I need to be extremely cognizant of all of these other pieces on the metaphorical chessboard in order to distill that into one, hey, like this is the driving narrative, this is what's going to happen, and this is what's important for trading.
The decoration looks like an Indian wedding. I know it's from the tweet of the playing hall actually here. So I made a put a picture. Actually, it was a very good tweet, but I think it was a very underrated tweet of mine. But okay, fine. And they said the decoration looks like an Indian wedding. Okay, it's a sensitive topic here, so let's just move on. Anish is leaking chats. Be aware of him.
I think you have to be aware.
No, this like they're trying
things
to...
you have told me on chat.
No, okay, I've been a good boy ever since. I know now that like everything can leak at any moment. So I'm just being always being very good. But I think this is like one of those when they're trying to send the message like blink twice kind of thing, that somebody's trying to rescue you, and they're sending you this message through this setting, like, be aware of him.
I'm sorry to be the one to tell you, but you don't look very good in this highly anticipated selfie.
Just like my brother, not really funny jokes, but take your like joking, they are a little funny.
Just kidding, by the way, not joking.
Ah, just kidding.
Just kidding.
Oh, my whole life I thought JK means joking. Oh, snap. I have to rethink now all these, my entire like life, all the conversations I had online when people say JK.
Because just kidding has a better vibe than
I thought it's
joking.
like joking. Why did I think it was joking? Just kidding.
I think next segment should be you knowing the Gen Z terms.
True.
You have 3 kids who are Gen Z.
Yeah.
So,
well, LOL.
that's millennial.
ROFL.
No, that's in 90s.
Okay, I'm boomer. Fine. You got raised though. Is that a modern thing or not?
Yeah, but it's not contextual.
It's not true. Yeah, that's the problem. Bro tweets so much, it's hard to find mean tweets from the past. Chess.com. Okay, that's funny. Okay, that's funny. Well done you.
Yeah, it seemed like all the mean tweets from
No,
yesterday.
It was. At some point I realized the lazy guys, you're just scrolling my yesterday's feed.
Yes, exactly.
It was all from yesterday.
Exactly, it could have been like...
True. No, you have to keep scrolling. Okay. No, good stuff. Yeah, I didn't have much time to prepare for this, huh?
Hello everybody, welcome back to Collegiate Chess League 2024 fall season, brought to us by Susquehanna. I'm your host, not your ghost, although it is October, Jules Gambit, and this is my co-host, Grandmaster Benjamin Bach. How do you feel about the match so far?
I feel, yeah, it's looking like a good match for Athens. They're leading by 3 points, so they must be feeling pretty good going into the second half. For Prague, they must be happy that they're still in it. If, who was it? Martin had lost that game, it might have been too tough. 5 points looks like it's too much, but 3 points is still possible. Maybe win this match by 1 and the next match by 2, or the other way around, and they would take it to tie breaks. So yeah, what do you think, Jules?
I think it's going to be tough for Prague to come back. Yes, it's very important that they got that point, so it's only 3 points difference, but it still means they're going to have to win the majority of their games for these next 2 rounds. I don't know. It might be very difficult.
Yep. And as we talked, some games have already gone underway. We see in the top left-hand corner Martin going for the Jobava London, a regular guest in these Blitz games. So let's see how Dimitris is going to deal with that. He goes for c5, the most direct approach against the Jobava. And here, white goes e4, a bit of a gambit. And Dimitri trades on d4. I'm really curious to see who is better booked up in this sharp line.
Actually, fun fact, when I was preparing against the Jobava London for Andrea Botez for a classical game, this is a line that I looked at as well. So I'll see how he plays. I'm very glad I ended up not having to play it, because it can be tough. Jobava London can be a very sharp surprise weapon.
Yeah, it for sure can. We saw white going bishop b5, now a6 and a trade. So very interesting imbalance here. White has a slight lead in development with the queen out, the bishop out, and the knight on c3. But black having more pawns in the middle and the bishop pair, so we'll see how this game will develop. In the meantime, some other games have also gone underway. We see Jan with the white pieces, keeping all of the pieces on the board, avoiding theory with a setup with knight f3, c4, b3, bishop b2, e3, bishop e2. And in the bottom left-hand corner, we see Vasilius also going for an interesting setup, as he fianchettos his bishop And I think he's going for d4 to build a big center.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Looking at that game with Jan, I know this position. I remember a strong player told me that in these types of positions, he likes to play them against slightly weaker opponents because it really shows the understanding of both their opponents. There's a lot of subtleties. So I think it might be interesting. It definitely shows the confidence of Jan's positional prowess. So I wonder what will happen over there. Are there any particularly sharp or aggressive games that catch your eye? Maybe Vasilios's game is kind of interesting. What do you think?
Absolutely, yeah. He was able to build a big center, and now he's the pawn on d5. So let's see where Andre is going to go with his knight. I don't think he can go to d4. Why will just take twice. So maybe he's going to have to take a step back and go knight to e7, then try to move the f6 knight out of the way later and go f5. Go for typical King's Indian counterplay. Yeah, the game that stands. I mean, yeah, again, the game between Dimitris and Martin, I think, has the potential to really heat up as now Black is advancing the pawns in the middle.
And we still have a lot of love for Richard in the chat. Seems like we have a lot of Richard fans here. They say he activated his hoodie buff by putting the hoodie on. It's true. Sometimes like being comfy really does help your chess.
Absolutely, yeah. And it looks like Richard in the bottom right-hand corner is also getting comfortable. He also put on his hoodie. So let's see how that will fare for him. He's playing the knight off against Konstantinos. Oh, and in Martin's game, he played queen e5, but the computer does not seem to like that. I wonder if Dimitris can go knight g4, attacking the queen. The queen is going to have to move to h5, and then knight takes f2, perhaps. Maybe that is why the computer doesn't like this move at all.
Yeah, it looks very, very scary for white. I wonder what he was thinking here. Maybe he has something as a follow-up, the reason that Dimitris is hesitating a little bit here.
So knight g4 is promising. Also just d4, advancing the pawn, keeping the center close for now, and that's the move he goes for.
That's what we see.
I think Martin's in... Oh, sorry. I think he's in trouble. Go ahead.
No, absolutely. I was just going to say that's what we see here. It does look like there's not a great place for the knight. I don't know.
Yeah, and if you move the knight, again, there's that move, knight g4, hitting the queen moves. Then you take an f2, forking both of the rooks. So I don't know what Martin should do here. He can also go for a sacrifice on d4. Perhaps practically that's his best chance. Otherwise, he will be in a tough position.
Right, and whoever loses this game is going to lose their undefeated streak so far. The top two boards from Athens are undefeated currently. So Prague is looking to stop that little streak from going on, although it doesn't look too promising for Martin here.
It doesn't, and now he's also getting low on time. Okay, rook he1, but that doesn't do much. Black can actually play knight d7, attacking the queen, breaking the pin on the d file so that when the queen moves, he can then take on c3. I think Dimitris is going to take another game here. He's been in great shape, and I think he's taking this game as well.
Oh, that's a brutal move. And it's so funny, like Black's not even castled or developed, and they're still absolutely crushing.
All right, so knight e7, attacking the queen. The queen has to move, I guess, to like h5, and then you take the knight. And look at Martin. He's like, uh-oh, I completely overlooked that move. He is not... This didn't look planned. This didn't look planned. Let's leave it at that.
Look at Martin's face. Oh, wow. He might counter Shella for the most expressive person so far, but he definitely does not look very happy with that.
Yeah, no, I don't see it either. He's locked in, but it seems a little late perhaps already on move 11. It seems like he's going to lose a full piece, and I don't see any compensation for it. I think Dimitris is going to take this game. So, yeah, perhaps, do you want to go back to bird's eye view to see what's happening on the other boards?
Let's do it.
All right, okay, so it's looking very good for Dimitris. He can now take the knight on c3. In the meantime, maybe Jan is a tiny bit better against Jonas. He has the bishop pair. The position is fairly close, though, so it's not a super big deal that white has that bishop pair. Andre, who is, I believe, 0 out of 2, is looking pretty good, though, with the black pieces against Vasilios, so maybe he can get on the scoreboard as well. And on the bottom board, in the bottom right-hand corner, this game is looking pretty even with the opposite color bishops.
It does seem like this is a good chance for Prague to even up the score, and they're going to need to. They're going to need to win every single point that is available on these boards if they want to come back for the last round. Otherwise, it might just be over before they've started.
Absolutely. Yeah, if Athens win this round by 2 points or more, the match will be over. They'll take a 5-point lead or more, and that's insurmountable. So let's see. Prague is going to have to strike back, but yeah, looks like they're going to lose the first board. I think really Andre has to do something here with the black pieces to keep this match close.
And it seems like he might be able to. He has a very nice position here, a lot of space.
He trades in f1, queen d7, good move, hitting the pawn on h3. Let's see how white's going to deal with that. King g2, logical move, and he goes f5, but now maybe knight d3 for white, bring the knight out, putting pressure on c5, putting pressure on e5. Let's see what Vasilius will do.
It seems very intuitive to break open the king side to have a better attack, but you're right, all of a sudden that knight is getting in on the action.
And we have knight d3 on the board. Yeah, and in the top right-hand corner, Jan, I feel like he has lost some of his advantage because he traded off one of his bishops for the black bishop. So he's lost the advantage of the bishop pair. So I feel like right now black's doing pretty fine. White has that bishop, but it's really hard to do any damage with that. And black is just so super solid. So I feel like that game is probably going to end in a draw. Yeah, who knows? Athens might take this round as well, and then it could just be over.
That would be devastating for Prague. It has happened before where a match is just decided by round 3. So they really need to, they know this is a very important round, so they're really putting in everything they have there. It's interesting in those close positions, like the one you have on Jan's board, that those bishops don't even seem to really be doing much. The knights look way more useful.
Yeah, black can maneuver, whereas for white it's difficult to improve the position. That being said, I also don't really see a plan for black. So I think they're just gonna shuffle back and forth eventually. Scratch that. White goes g4, trying to open up the king side, which is a little bit double-edged. I don't quite like that decision.
You think opening up will make them more vulnerable?
Yeah, no, I think it is gonna make white more vulnerable. We see him now breaking with e4. Wait, I think you can take that pawn, because he might be banking on knight takes e4, knight takes e4, d5 check, but there's queen c3, saving the queen and blocking the check, so a big blunder here by Jan.
Oh, I wonder if he's going to see it too. You have to be very certain of your calculation, of course, to make a move like that, but he's taking his time, which does indicate that he sees the move and is just deciding if it's possible.
Yeah, and Jonas looks confused. He's like, what? Like, what is the point? And takes the pawn. Yeah, I don't think there's anything for white. And now Jan is thinking, which is a clear tell that he's messed up. I mean, if you sacrifice, you must have something in mind. But the follow-up doesn't work, so he's just going to have to move his bishop. He's just lost a pawn for nothing and weakened his entire structure. So Athens might be taking a point there as well. Prague's in big trouble here.
Not only that, Ben, but that is not a good pawn to lose. You lose it with the momentum. You can eventually solidify with f5 or something of the such when it works for you, and I don't know. There's such thing as pawn sacrifices, but that is definitely not one of them.
Yeah, and we already have a win for Athens. Dimitris wins his game with the black pieces in crushing fashion, opening up a 4-point lead for the Athens team. It's looking tough for Prague. Let's see if they can hang on. Well, one board where they could get a win, again, is Andre's board. He's up a minute. He's got a nice and active position. Let's see what he can do.
It does look like he has a lot of space on that board there. That knight looks very nice on d4. That knight is having a lot of fun. That knight's invited to all the parties. Everyone loves that knight. Meanwhile, the knights on b2 aren't really doing much. So he's trying to make his knight active, but where exactly is it going? Is he even planning on trading that knight off with the d4 knight?
And look at Andre. I mean, his eyes just lit up. He's like, where is the opportunity? He can take on f3, then he can take on e4, but there's still king g2 back. He is locked in, but wait, can you do this? He takes on e4. Now white can maybe take on e5. Let's see what's going to happen. He takes on d4. Wait, see, look at the center for black. This looks terrifying for white.
Oof. Yeah, not only is that king open, but those pawns are going to promote, and there's nothing really you can do about it without sacking a piece.
No, this looks dead lost. After 91, there's also bishop d1, rook f1 instead, but giving up a full knight. Andre should win this game, as also white has no time on the clock. So that's a nice win for Prag. Maybe they can also get some points in the other games. I just had a quick glance. They might be winning board 4 as well.
Oh, his face is killing me right now. Did you see that? He was like...
Yeah.
There we go. And that win was absolutely needed. Andre gets the point, which does help Prag out, but Prag's still going to need a little bit more this round.
Yeah, I think they could get it on this board, as Richard is up a pawn, and white's got no time. So let's see how he will turn up the pressure here. Maybe bishop b7, h4. Yeah, or rook h8 is also an idea now. This is not looking good for Konstantinos, who's down to 7 seconds.
You know, I think that Richard looks exceptionally cool for a chess player right now, with like the hoodie and everything, and just like, if my opponent looked like that, they were like leaned back, had their hoodie, I would feel like I'm dead lost. Unbothered.
Yeah, right. But there, you might also get to a point where you're too relaxed, especially in blitz games. Sometimes you really do need that adrenaline. But let's see how this game is going to progress. It looks really tough for white again. All of the dark stars are super weak. Queen e7. He wants to dive in with the queen as well. I don't see Konstantinos holding this one.
And that was just to prevent the queen going to g5. But maybe the queen can go into f6 or something, making some threats.
That makes sense as well. In the meantime, Jonas has won his game with the black pieces. So right now, Athens is leading this round 2-1. And overall, they're leading by 4 points. So again, Richard has to win. If he wins, it will be 3 points, still giving them a chance going into the final round. But if he loses, it's all over. But I like what he's doing. Queen h3, great stuff. Take on g4.
Everything hinges on Richard. Can he do it here? Look at that. Oh, wow. Beautiful. And Richard takes home the point, keeping Prag still in the match. It's going to be hard for them to come back, but they do have chances going into the 4th round because of this result.
Yep, they're still in it. They are down by 3 points, but you know, we've seen comebacks happen. Let's see if they can do it. Konstantina's a little unhappy. He is on half out of 3, but he actually could have very well won the first 2 games. So let's hope for him he has some better luck in the last round. But yeah, we see here Athens is crushing it on the top 2 boards. Dimitri is doing great, 3 out of 3. Jonas is doing great as well, 3 out of 3 as well. And then your bottom 2 boards don't even have to score that many points. For Prag, they're a little bit more well-rounded. Jan is scoring 1.5 out of 3. The others all 1 out of 3, but that's not quite enough. They're gonna have to put a lot of points on the scoreboard to take this to overtime.
Definitely. They're really going to need to bring everything they have to be able to really just at least tie the match and bring them to tie breaks. But as we've seen before, it's going to be a very difficult task. There's been a few good games. Do you have any in mind that you want to look at?
Yes. Are we going to do a game review, or will we go to the... I think we'll go to the final round, right?
Yeah, I think so too. Sorry about that. But yeah,
no
we'll
worries.
definitely do a game review later. I think we definitely want to go to the final round here. And as we see, it's going to be the board 1 against the board 1, board 2 against board 2, board 3 against board 3, board 4 against board 4. So this is all of their chances to get a point. Anyone who hasn't been on the board so far might get their first point in this round. But it's going to be imperative that Prag absolutely sweeps. And with Athens playing so well, what's your predictions? Do you think they can do it, Ben?
I don't think they can do it, no. This Athens team is looking strong, especially Dimitri's on the first board, Jonas on the second board. Dimitri's also has the white pieces, so let's see. Again, if one Greek player wins their game, the match will be over. Again, we've seen in other matches, you cannot really rely on your teammates to do the job. Everyone has to stay focused. But yeah, I think Athens will get it done, but let's see, you never know.
That's true. If Athens feels like they've already won, they might not have that adrenaline you talked about earlier. I'm wondering, chat, do you think nerves help you play better, or do you think it impedes your play? It's definitely an interesting question. We've seen people perform in extraordinary ways under difficult circumstances, so maybe that will happen now for Parag.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like especially in these faster time controls and blitz, you need a bit of adrenaline. You need the healthy nerves, so to speak. But yeah, what is your experience, Jules?
I do think adrenaline helps a lot as long as the nerves don't make you afraid of taking risks. So it's a nice, healthy balance, I believe. And I think that's kind of what we're going to be seeing here. All right. Taking a look at this opening, what did the opening in the board one come out of? Do you know?
Again, this is the Prince variation of the Sicilian. Dimitri's used that line earlier. He's using it again. So let's see. Jan going for a different line, going for a very early pawn break in the middle. Yeah, let's recap the first couple of moves. So e4, c5, knight of 3, d6, d4, takes, knight of 6, f3. We also saw this by Dimitri's in round 2, I believe. e5, knight b3, and I believe in that game Black played the move a7, a5. But Jan has different intentions. He goes d5, bishop g5 by White pinning the knight, and Black goes bishop e6, developing his bishop and adding some support to the d5 pawn. Here, Dimitri takes, Black recaptures with the pawn, and now trades on d5. So we'll likely go into an endgame after like knight c3. Some trades will happen, where White will have the better pawn structure. He will also have a lead in development. Bishop b4 instead was played, but Black has the bishop pair, so very interesting imbalance.
Yeah, that is very interesting. It'll be interesting to see if Black decides to go for a queen trade. There might not be... Is there an opportunity to stop it, in your opinion?
Not really. I feel like sooner or later the queens are going to be traded off. White is going to go queenside castles, attacking the bishop. So let's see. I think Jan cannot really avoid the queen trade here. In the meantime, the other games have lifted off as well. So, Jules, do you want to go back to the bird's eye view?
Yeah, let's take a look.
All right. So, on board 2, we see Jonas doing some very interesting stuff with an early h4 push. I think he did something similar against Tari when they played Mizzou. And on board 3, we see a Slav defense, or a Catalan, excuse me, between Richard and Vasilios. And on board 4, we see again a symmetrical English. And Konstantinos going aggressive here with h5. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting. That structure, especially in that last game, I really wish there was a knight to put into g5 there.
Right. Okay, so let's see what's going to happen. Jan did take on b3, so now we are going into that endgame. We will see opposite colored bishops. Although Black can take on c3, then we'll have the battle of bishop against knight. And perhaps he should, as otherwise then knight can jump to that d5 square. Overall, I don't know. Prague is going to have to get a lot of points on the board. Do you see it happening, Jules?
Well, it's one of these interesting circumstances where it might be better for a few people to play moves that are maybe a bit more questionable but create better chances for their team because they're going to need to win. Draws will not be enough. With these positions on the board, I don't know. I think it's going to be very, very difficult. There is still a chance, but again, they're going to need to take some crazy risks, which could amount to a loss. What about you?
Yeah, I don't like what Jan just did here. Dropping the bishop all the way back to f8 looks a little bit passive. But if we have a quick look around the horn, Martin is better with the black pieces against Jonas on board 2, so they could get a win there. Anything can happen on board 3 between Richard and Vasilios, all of the pieces on the board. And White is a little bit better in the game between Andre and Konstantinos. So there is the potential, but I think Dimitris is going to get it done. I mean, he's having a very comfortable advantage with the white pieces. He's been carrying this match, so I think he's going to do it in the last round as well.
Well, we will see. It does seem like Andre is locked in. If you look, he just seems to be a little bit on fire there, which is what he needs. But yeah, that endgame, especially creating chances in that endgame, I guess a draw would be okay for Jan if the rest of his teammates can manage to win. But a loss might be devastating. A loss would equal a victory for Athens.
Yeah, indeed. And yeah, I like Dimitri's chances. He's got a slightly better pawn structure, nice piece activity. This king can easily come under some fire. It's not easy to find a good square for it right now where it doesn't walk into some sort of fork. So, yeah, looking tough for Jan. I don't know. In the meantime, Jules, is there a game that stands out to you that you want to go to?
In particular, perhaps the game with Caligaris might be interesting.
Yeah, let's have a look at it. Wow. I'm wondering if I don't wait. I'm wondering if White made a mouse slip or if he intended to go King f1. But I like Black's chances a lot. Black has more space in the middle. Black's king is perfectly safe on the queen side. He can start pushing on the king side with g5, g4. I don't see what Jonas has got going for him in this position. So looking great here for Martin. And there we have a g5 on the board. Great stuff.
The only way it wasn't a mouse slip is if he somehow thought his king would be safer on f1 than if he castled because of that g5 break, which might have been a thing. But if it was a mouse slip, that is very unfortunate. I think it's always a little tilting when you mean to do one thing and then all of a sudden, oops, you can't castle anymore. It happens to us all.
Exactly. Yeah, he goes h5. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, mouse slips are very, very upsetting. He goes h5, keeping the king side closed, g4 1 now. The h4 square becomes available, and then I can jump to g6. So, not sure about that. I feel like that pawn push might have been a little bit too quick by Martin. Yeah, let's see. Overall, Black is still doing very well here.
And this is actually a grudge match between Athens and Prague because last season they played and Prague won, I think, by a point. So Athens is looking for their revenge here. They're really going to need to play accurately. But yeah, it might be the revenge that they need. Look at all of White's pieces all over the place.
Yeah, the knights are jumping in, but I guess this queen is just going to move to, let's say, g7. I guess this other knight is going to jump back to g3 or to c3. But it all just looks a little bit loose for Jonas. Right, so we'll see how this game is going to progress. Do you want to go back to the bird's eye view to see what's happening on the other boards?
Let's do it.
Yeah, so the board we just saw is looking tough for Athens, but I feel like they're... Oh, the match is already over as Dimitris is winning a piece. Look at that in the top left-hand corner. He just played knight e3 check. The king has to step back to e7, but then knight f5. The king has to move, you trade the rooks, and you pick up the bishop on h6. So, great stuff by the Athens board 1, and there it is in the books. He goes 4-4 and carries his team to a victory.
And if you look at Jan's face, he knows he just lost his team the match in this rematch. Athens has, in fact, won against Prague. So I think they're going to be very happy. The other boards, of course, do not know this yet because they're focusing on their own game. But you can just see it in his eyes. He's not very happy with that.
Yeah. But yeah, it was already a very tall task, down 3 points against this strong Athens team. So Dimitris gets it done. All right. So in the meantime, the game between Richard and Vasilios is in full swing. Almost all of the pieces are on the board. And I feel like Athens is also doing pretty well on board 4. As White's queenside is looking a little bit fragile. So I feel like Konstantinos has been playing good chess. He's just been somewhat unfortunate that he didn't get more points on the table, but he might get a full point here.
Do you think there's an aspect of luck when all these positions keep turning out not your way, or do you think it's a psychological state that creates that?
I think it's a psychological state. You're absolutely right about that, but it's also a skill, right? Maybe you're not calculating well, so when you have to calculate when you're missing it. Maybe you're not performing well under time pressure, things like that. But yeah, if Konstantinos gets those few things down, I think we could see him scoring a lot more points this season. And look at this, queen takes b3, great stuff by him picking up a pawn on the queen side.
And in fact, Athens winning this match means that they still have a good shot for getting into the finals. It will be a lot, but they needed to get on the board with this match. So this is exactly what the team needed to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Athens is still very much in it to make it to the playoffs. They just had some tough pairings. I believe they played Mizzou. Obviously, that's a tough match. Mizzou might be the favorite to win it all. And then I think they might have also played Slew, so two of the toughest pairings. And but yeah, when they're playing some weaker teams, they are very capable of winning as well.
That is a tough first two pairings. Oh boy, I can imagine they got their pairings and were like, oh. So they've got to be happy. They have been playing well. I do remember that. We've seen them pretty much every week, and they've been playing very well. So I think that is proving itself in this match here.
Absolutely, yeah. And they might have just been they might not have been too unhappy with those pairings, because then they were like, well, at least we get the tough matches out of the way at the beginning. In the meantime, it looks like Martin is cleaning things up on board 2. Board 3 is looking a little bit better for Vasilios, and board 4 is looking very even, maybe a little bit better for Konstantinos. Let's see. Do you want to have a look at board 3, perhaps?
Sure, let's do it. Also, Ben, do you remember playing against Athens when you were playing?
Yes, yeah, I do remember playing against Athens. Yeah, I think we played them last year in the spring season, and we won quite comfortably.
Do you think they've improved a little bit since then, from what you're seeing?
Great question. They did lose their best player, Kaliris. So I don't know. They might have gotten some good players in return for that. Maybe they've become a little bit weaker because, like I said, they lost their best player, and Kaliris, who's like a GM or close to that, and they didn't get a player of the same caliber in exchange for that.
They should put something in the players' contracts that every time a GM graduates, they have to bring a new GM in. You know, offer a replacement.
Yeah. Oh, and look at this, Black going G6. That's very provocative. Hanging the pawn on H6, but his idea is that then he wants to take on E4. Let's see if White will take the bait, as he is baiting him. Let's see if White goes for it.
And can you explain why that's a bait? Why is that pawn trade not favorable for White?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was fine. But maybe bait was not the right word. But he's provoking him. He was provoking him. White didn't take it though. Instead, he walked his king up to G3. It feels like Black is better here with the two bishops putting pressure on E4. But there's not an easy way to progress here, as all of these squares along the D file are covered. But White also down to 11 seconds. This is not an easy spot for White to be in.
Under 10 seconds to 34 seconds. This is where people blunder, especially in a complicated position like this.
And he just hung upon E4. So yeah, that is a blunder right there. Looking tough now for Richard, who's dropping down to 5 seconds. G5.
Just trying to create counterplay at any cost.
Let's see if Black will take, or he can also take an F3 first, but looking very good for Vasilios.
Yeah, if you take on F3, you're pretty much forcing the queen trade. Oh.
Bishop F5, H5. Okay, he goes Rook H8, Rook H1. The moves are flying in, but Black is still very solid over here. Let's see what White should do here.
Oh, look, with under 9 seconds, if only his opponent had less time, it would be easier to convert some of these mistakes that Black is making.
Bishop takes G5, maybe to simplify. Queen takes. You can take on D1, then White takes here. But that endgame should be winning for Black, and he goes for it.
Yeah, there's no good way to keep your queen on the board, which I know he's searching for. And that means Vasilios wins. Richard unfortunately loses, but the match was already decided before this. Still, of course, you always want to have as much points as you possibly can for tie breaks.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we see, let's go back to the birds, or no, actually, there's one more game ongoing, so let's pull that one up. The game between Andre and Konstantinos. White is winning, but he has only 5 seconds, and he just hung a very important pawn, which I think can just be captured, but C3 instead was played. Ooh, the evil bar is swinging back and forth.
He doesn't want to take that pawn, it seems.
Now he can. Oh, bishop b6, defending the f7 pawn. C2. I don't like giving up that pawn. All right, it should be even.
If you check out that graph underneath this right here, it almost looks like a seismograph. It looks like an earthquake. Everything's happening. Oh, wow. There goes the rook.
Oh, poor Vasilios again.
Oh.
Sorry, Konstantinos. He's played decent chess, but he missed out on so many points. And here again, and yeah, well, Andre gets to win. He has a bit of a smile on his face, but overall, it's a pretty convincing victory for the Athens team.
Absolutely. And still, the tiebreak points are important. Athens does manage to take home the victory, 9.5, 5.5. So if you look at that, wow, Athens' first board went 4 out of 4, second board went 3 out of 4. That's very impressive.
Yeah, no, very impressive stuff by the Athens team. Yeah, Dimitri is going 4 out of 4, great stuff. Jonas 3 out of 4, that's good as well on board 2. Board 3 did pretty fine as well, 2 out of 4. But yeah, great stuff by Dimitri. He's carrying his team. And Prek was a little bit more well-rounded, but yeah, none of them really overperformed, so it wasn't enough against this strong Athens team.
I will have to come back next week to try to get their points back. But for now, Athens moves forward, finally on the scoreboard. It'll be interesting to see what they do the rest of the season. I don't know, but we'll see. We're going to do an interview after the break, so stay tuned, stay with us. I think it will be a lot of fun.
Want more chess on the go? Check out all of our essential chess apps. Turn your phone into a chess clock. Learn with Dr. Wolf. Tackle new chess challenges. Entertain your kids with Chess Kid and level up with fun and adventure. Download them all at Chess.com/apps.
Do you think we're gonna go our separate ways in content in the next 1 to 2 years?
Not entirely. I think we'll always still do content together.
She's not sure.
Oh. No, I do think we'll always do content together. I don't know like what the next 2 years are gonna look like, so I'm unsure about that, but not that we'll do content together.
Have you ever been jealous of Andrea's success?
Somewhat.
True.
Do you think you're more successful than Andrea?
No.
That's very surprising.
I told you I think all these things.
Do you think you're ever a bad influence on me?
Ever? Yes. We've lived together for years, of course.
Yeah, she definitely.
But if you ask me overall, that's a different answer.
Do you feel guilty towards your parents that you made Andrea drop?
No.
Oh, but that's a big topic. Maybe she's truthful, but that's a very, very big topic for her. Like, she has a big reaction on that question. So maybe something they've discussed a lot, or something that created tension in their family,
It
or
was
something
a big
like that.
family argument for many years.
It's actually not the family. I was thinking about a very specific incident, I think a week ago.
What were you thinking about?
It's actually really dark. I don't know if I should.
You should.
I would like to know.
It was when we were preparing for chess camp, and I remembered when we started making content how you had work-life balance and you were so happy. And then that Friday you were so burnt out, you were trying to film a video at 11 p.m. And I asked you, it's like, is there anything that would bring you joy? And you were like, no, literally nothing. And then I saw that and I was like, yeah, like my sister might be so much more successful now, but like, doesn't matter if she's not as happy.
I'm gonna tear up. That was so sad.
Yeah, I told you it's dark. That's why I think, because these are all
Yeah, but it's
questions.
real. I think it's good. Do you think you've peaked in terms of your competitive chess career?
No.
Lie.
The lie is I don't know how much more classical chess we're gonna play, and if we don't, then sure. But if we were to play more tournaments, I don't think so.
Looking to deck out your closet this fall, or a gift for that person who loves chess? We've got you covered in our all-new merch store. Literally. Never forget that it's always chess o'clock somewhere, with clocks in a brand new colorway. And keep your mouse speed on point with a classic green or bubblegum pink mouse pad. Oh, Mittens wants to say something too. She says, check it all out at chess.com/shop. And yeah, you might want to do what Mittens says.
So, how are you feeling after today's match?
Having me. I am very happy. The whole team is very happy because, okay, to be honest, the first appearances of the team in this Collegiate Chess League were not very good, but today I think we played very well, and we are hoping that we continue this way.
Absolutely, and you had some tough matchups.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dimitris, you did great. You went 4 out of 4 this week. You're the board 1. Do you feel like you have to go 4 out of 4 against a team like this, against the board 1, or what was your mindset going into this match?
Well, generally, not just for this match, but for all the matches, since I am number one board by rating, I mean, I have, let's say, I feel the obligation that I have to make a good score. Okay, of course, with this team, because it is a little bit weaker than the other teams, this score should be more. But okay, it's not like I said to myself, I have to make a 4 out of 4. But I wanted to do at least 3.5, to be honest. And I'm very happy that I helped the team a lot.
Absolutely. And chess is usually seen as a very individual sport. How do you think this being a team match changes how you guys play?
Well, it is actually very nice to have a team match because, like you said, when you play chess, you are very used to playing just for yourself. But when you play for a team, your win counts even more. And also, of course, you have very good team members. I mean, you know the team members well and you have fun with them. It's like, the whole team spirit upgrades a lot. It is very nice.
It is nice indeed. Yeah, I myself also always enjoy playing in the Collegiate Chess League. And Dimitris, maybe you can tell the viewers a little bit more about yourself. What are you studying at Athens? How are you in your bachelor's and your master's? Are you close to finishing off? You're an IM. Are you close to the GM title? Go ahead. Tell us a little bit about
Okay,
yourself.
of course. So I'm 21 years old right now. I'm studying the National Technical University of Athens. My department is electrical and computer engineering. Most of the team members also in my team are also electrical and computer engineers. We also have some mechanical and civil engineer, I think, but most of them are electrical. Yes, I am an IM. I wouldn't say I'm very, very close to the GM title, but I am close because I have reached the 2500 rating and I have one GM norm. So only two GM norms left. And of course, for the university, it is a bachelor degree. But also, I don't know if this happens in other countries as well, USA or other countries. But in our country, it also counts like a master. It's bachelor and master simultaneously because it's 5 years instead of 4. Just for the information.
And someone in chat asked, paraphrasing a little bit, how do you feel? Do you think you're going to win your next match?
Well, first of all, to be honest, I have no idea who we are playing next. I have absolutely no idea. But I will say yes. Yes, for sure. To be confident.
All right, nice. Yeah, I think you guys still have great chances to make it to the playoffs. Is that the goal for the Athens team?
Yes, for sure. Objectively speaking, we know we are not definitely in the top 3 universities, but if we make it to the playoffs, then we are gonna try our best. And I think when there is a very good motivation, a lot of things can happen. A lot of good things.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations. Wish you all the best of luck with the rest of your season. And again, thank you for talking with us a little bit about your season.
Thanks a lot also. Thank you for having us, for having me and the team.
So everyone, we're going to go to next week's matches, talk a little bit about what we have to look forward to. So stay tuned. We'll be here.
So let's talk about next week's matches. We have a pretty exciting schedule ahead of us. It was great to have Dimitris here for an interview. But still, only 3 matches are in the book. Still, anything can happen. Again, the teams want to fight for those top 6 spots, especially the top 2 spots, as those will get you in the semis. And I think Athens still definitely has a chance. But Jules, I'm looking at next week's schedule. They might have a pretty tough match ahead of them.
Oh boy, poor Athens. They've really been hit by everybody. They've gotten some of the toughest matches, and next they're going to have SRM, who just defeated SLU. So they're the team to beat. Athens will really have to bring their A game. Yale versus UT Rio Grande, Prague versus Mizzou. Another very tough matchup for Prague there. St. Louis versus Virginia. And Virginia actually, I believe, upset Mizzou. So lots of interesting matches, a lot to look forward to. Anything could happen. I don't know. We're just happy to be here. And I think we've had a really good day today when it comes to interesting matches. What do you think, Ben?
Absolutely, yeah. The match between SLU and SRM was a very interesting one. SRM winning that one. They did an amazing job. This seemed like a pretty smooth victory for Athens. They were leading the entire way through. So we'll see if SRM can continue their momentum. I mean, they still have some tough matches ahead of them. But, I mean, right now they're already guaranteed pretty much of the playoffs, but also their campaign for the top 2 spots is looking good as well. So, yeah, every week it's getting more and more exciting, Jules.
Very true, Ben. And for everyone this spooky season, compete in the Fog of War Chess Championship. October 17th and 18th, conquer your fear of the dark with this mysterious variant and take home some cash while you're at it. Visit go.chess.com/fogchamps or use !FOG in chat for everything you need to know. Thank you for joining us. See you next week for CCL week number 4.